On today's episode of Let's Talk FGO, JP Summer has happened with an unparalleled, unprecedented number of 5 stars. We've also got Ordeal Call Part 3 dropping just as we're about to begin our Ordeal Call 3, not Part 3, recap. All this and more on today's Let's Talk FGO. This voice is Omega. The other voice over there chuckling is, as always, Lucky. And we're tired, boss.
I am very tired. But with that in mind, I would like to say that I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka the moon is your constant companion. And while we here at Studio Mega like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EA versions of the games. So anyone not wanting spoilers should get not one but 2 giant kaiju girls.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy.
You know, it's very striking when they manage to reveal the welfare in 3 SSRs to us, and we go, yes, I understand what this summer is. And then they're like, no.
You did not understand.
You thought. And one of those are Bodhisattva, so. But yes. Honestly, a little glad that there was a little bit of surprise, because looking back on it, like, everybody else was, like, scoped out. Like, people were locked in on those silhouettes, so it'll be interesting. But we'll be talking about that later. First, so Let's Talk FGO, I'd like to remind you that this episode is brought to you by our wonderful, beautiful listeners of all stripes, but especially our patrons over on Patreon. I will talk more about that in a second, but we are continuing on from where we is, which is the normal biz. Sorry, I had to milk one extra rhyme. But let's check in with everybody's favorite summer kohai. Mesh!
Senpai! 起きてください.
Because that means that it is time for Rig the Fuck Up Senpai, Rigsing for pro tips. And one of these will sound eerily familiar, though I do have a coda on it, which is, I am once again reminding you, if you want to clear the summer event, if you have anything left over there or are late to it, you have until 9/1, the 1st of September. To clear Ordeal Call 3, you have until 9/30, the 30th of September. But, and I'll detail a little more about this in a second, but since it's all out now, they have added that there are limited time missions which are only good until the 26th of August, 8/26. So do keep that in mind if you are thinking about when you're clearing what. As you know, a little bit of Sync Wash never hurts. Especially because we do have the Kazura Drop event coming up mid-September? I think they say it's mid right now. But also, this was pointed out by our Discord, but the timing has gone off, and your Blue Rocks have expired. So if you're struggling, you may need to either wait a bit for them to come back, or make use of the fact that this story release doesn't go away until the 30th, and be judicious with your spending of command spells. But yes, there are a few things going on with the difficulty curve, so I'm sure we'll talk about that later as well. But yeah, keep that in mind. Yes, we should have a download event somewhere in here too. But thus ends Wake the Fuck Up Senpai. That takes us to Records from the Throne, our regular achievement topic.
It looks like it's just me this week, so we'll get on through this quickly. I am pleased to say, though, that CL's smile is protected. I forgot that I hadn't actually purchased the EXPs in the Prism shop, so that was enough to get her to 90. Also, fun fact, I didn't realize that her second ascension is literally called Teach Me CL Senpai. And I was like, oh man, that's great. Even in the ascension line, she talks about how she'll, guide you away from, bad ends and tell you what you did wrong. I was like, oh man, that's so cool.
That is cute. That's a very good... Yeah, I knew they were all... Each ascension is called something slightly different, but yeah, it's always fun to see it actually printed up there.
No, it was great.
But yeah, no new records from me. I think I've got every servant currently in my backlog is leveled. Haven't rolled anybody new. I think I poked another 30 SQ into the Archetype Inception banner, but no new copies of Tenoch, and obviously no EX or BB Dubai.
I have 11 tickets, and I'm all like, man, do I want to keep trying? I would really like more MP levels for my BB Dubai. I really would. Actually, it's just BB copies right now.
She doesn't like extra MP levels.
Yeah.
I've talked about this. I'm usually kind of just free swanging with tickets. Like tickets or tickets.
Swanging. Yeah, no, I'm not spending quartz, but I got 11 tickets. I'm like, that's a full tenner. I'm just like,
yeah, with the bonus. Sorry, my thought is, I started to say, but I pictured the poster in my head. Only you can decide if you want to roll. Thank you, Smokey the Bear. But with records done and no evils, we move on to Did You Finish Your Master Missions? To finish your Master Missions this week, you need to perform 30 FP summons. Some of you may be doing that anyway, even though, again, remember, there's going to be a raid-up campaign. But other than that, you also have to defeat 3 chaotic servants, 3 good servants, defeat 15 demonic enemies, and then defeat 20 enemies, and then 40 enemies, which does not include servants or certain story bosses. Once again, the parenthetical always says certain bosses in story. I assume that means bosses in story who are canonically servants. It also excludes enemies who are summoned mid-battle, but they added that, after, 7 years, so it's true. Doesn't include enemies summoned mid-battle. And so, let us talk Skelegrams.
I have to stop the urge to make a yeah sound every single time.
It's part of it. And then if you start going, yeah, you have to be careful not to go, joke's on you, I'm into that. Skeletor edits are powerful, chat.
They are.
He's so expressive for a skull. But first, a little bit of cleanup from Anniversary. By the time we recorded, shot, edited, posted last week's episode, there was one rank-up quest that had not finished in Rank Up Quests Part 20, actually, I think. I may have said 19 earlier, but the wiki now reads 20. So maybe that was them, they forgot to count. But the last 2 were a 3-star Lancer and a 5-star Saber. So guess what? One of them was Romulus, and one of them is Artoria Classic.
Was not expected.
Not quite expected, no. But first for Romulus. It actually was not his NP. It is his Guts, which was his bonus skill he already got from a rank up. So it now lasts 1 time, 3 turns. That's right, Romulus's targeted Guts was so old it was 1 turn and was only 1k HP. It's now 1k, 3k. It also gives the targeted ally 10 to 30% buster up for 3 turns, and for the whole party, it's 10 to 20% attack, 20 to 40% buff success, and 50 to 100% healing up for the whole team, all 3 turns. So, very, very strong buffs on his 7 Hills skill. So, yeah, no, that's very, very good, very strong buff. Anyway, we buffed Artoria again. Her vanilla charisma probably needed it. She was still at a B, so it capped at 18%.
She had a vanilla charisma still?
Yeah,
Jesus.
she still had her vanilla charisma. That's the skill they buffed. But the result is still pretty nutty. So, 20 to 30% attack up for the party. That's right, at level 1, this skill is stronger than it was at level 10 before the buff. Further 10 to 20% attack up for Round Table Knights. Previously, by the way, this was a damage trait on Morgan's NP, specifically, by the way. So, now, naturally, Saber turns it into a positive. So this means that Round Table Knights get 50% attack up for 3 turns. And this is everybody you would expect. It's basically every actual Knight of the Round Table. The Fairy Knights, but only in their first Ascensions. Does include both Merlins. I think the only one that's funny there is that all the Greys count, including both of the new Welfares. But yeah, so very strong buffs. It also gives her 3 turns of 100 to 200% effectiveness on her extra attack.
Jesus.
And also 3 turns where she gets 10% NP every time she uses a Buster card. This includes her NP, so it is a minimum 30% refund with its overcharge effect. We've made God's strongest Koyanskaya of Light reloader. Because she can just do Koyan's effect to herself, and then also you can start stacking it. So yeah, like I said, the charisma buff is deserved, but they definitely went the extra mile to just be like, yeah, fuck it, Vanilla Saber's a Buster Loop Farmer now. We've invented it. It's like, okay, sure. Keep in mind, by the way, that she still has that skill where she makes all of her cards Buster, so you can get some pretty crazy one. I don't know if she straight up outperforms Logres, but that's because Logres has different stuff. But Lord Logres is a Round Table Knight, so these 2 things can go together.
Powerful.
Let me actually see what Logres' numbers are. Because she recharges NP. I mean, she charges her own NP 50% per turn for 5 turns, so it's a very different strategy. But yeah, I think her party-wide buffs are smaller. What's Lucas's Yeah, no, I don't think total buffs wise, Vanilla Artoria is not stronger than Lord Logres, but it is definitely a thing where they were like, okay, all right, Lord Logres exists, we can get a little crazy. But yeah, I would like to remind everybody, if you happen to be somebody on this podcast and have an NP5 Vanilla Saber, her overcharge maximum is 50% self-refund.
Oh, jeez.
The overcharge level goes 20 to 50. So if you max out her overcharge levels, she can, get pretty good at refunding herself. But then also she now refunds an extra 10 on the NP. If you NP BB, that's like, assuming the enemies are not dead from the NP outright, you have to actually overkill. But that's like another 20%. Like, with her extra advantage, that it's entirely possible that if the enemy doesn't just fucking die, you can possibly, like, literally Buster Loop her NP. Or again, just if the enemy doesn't die from NP, like if you have a tough big guy and then some small adds, you might be able to get the Koyan stacking buff to loop that as well. Like, you can get some juice. Yes, the Tamlins count, but only in their first ascensions. But that does mean that you can, Bargas get bigger, get stonks, 50% attack up, all kinds of fun stuff. But we move on to the next bit of JP news. Chaldea Great Southern Sea Showdown, starting the 12th, going into the 2nd of September. Full title includes a mysterious giant silhouette was spotted on Majimoon Island. So this is a summer points event. We must repel kaiju from Yokai Island. Yay.
Yay.
Also looks like there are some... We're hearkening back to several different summers where it looks like there are some cooking quests as well.
Ooh.
Can't have a Benny in a summer without, cooking up some mats. But our welfare will be 4-star pretender Habitrot. She also gets a costume, so she has both her actual summer sun hat mode, but also can put on her, kaiju onesie.
Excellent.
So that's pretty cool. We appreciate that. And then the thing we referred to, we have an unprecedented 4 SSRs and only 2 SRs rolling out in campaigns in a 2-1 format. The wiki's a little unclear on how this is, so I may ask some people who actually have a JP app to look at, but the wiki has it look like it's both SSRs on Raid Up on one page, but has them separate on another, so I don't know if they're actually together or if they are, like, 2 separate banners become 4 separate banners. This is what you get for field reporting. But yeah, first campaign debuted with 2 SSRs and 1 SR up on both, and then the next one is the next set, the next SR, and the next 2 SSRs, and so on. So, first batch is Summer Benny Enma Berserker, Summer King Protea Moon Cancer, the other than giving her a normal class, the other most obvious, run for a Summer Sakura 5. And the next batch is Summer Lilith Rider, and the big surprise, shocking almost, King Protea Alter Summer Avenger. 2 giant daughters. 2? Yes, 2. But yeah, no, that's pretty crazy. And I don't know, actually, I haven't seen any side-by-sides. I don't know if we were just hiding Poulter's silhouette amongst the other silhouettes or what, but there was definitely some blending going on with them. Okay, it was in there. All right. But yes, the SRs, the 4 stars, are, as predicted, Bishone Caster and Ono Komachi Archer and her dad. That's why that one silhouette was weird, because Komachi Dad is in every card art. But yeah, that's an interesting one. The Bishone turnaround's a little over a year because she was early last year, but she was pretty popular, so it's not unprecedented, and she will continue to be popular. And Komachi's an interesting one. I'll be, because we haven't done her Valentine's yet either. That's also next year, so we'll have to see how that one shakes out. That was calling her Kira Kira Sparkling Caster. No. Poulter's in there. They just chose her funniest ascension. That's her Phantom Thief Cat Burglar. Like there's a cat on her head. I'm pretty sure Komachi's dad is in that clusterfuck with the umbrella and the paper trail. Yeah, wild. But yeah, no, that extra silhouette was KP Alter. Okay. Well, I was right about it being a cat on her head. Anyway, the male banner is also up. That's Dante Shining Star Bedivere, as you would expect from the costumes. And also we've already got like a 3rd summon campaign started, which is a vanilla King Protea banner, which also has both SRs on it. So if you're like only shooting for SRs, you have a different SSR category to try for both at the same time. We have got some banger CEs, by the way. Baller ass CEs. I believe it is it's the Ono-san, but it's also, sorry. We're starting a little later, and I have been sleepier. That's right. Yes, it's the Mary Alter, and it's definitely Mary Alter because she's wearing black. Also, her eyes are yellow. But yeah, it's Hebin Yobo and Mary Alter are the guaranteed CEs, and then one of the 5 stars is Rin, probably technically an Ishtar. Let's see, does she have red eyes? Yeah, okay. Always check the eyeballs, chat. It's important. But yeah, great CEs this year. Killing it. It's already been shown as well through the story release that, yes, indeed, Mash does get a new summer costume for her paladin self.
Yay.
And there are a couple of NPCs visible in this story, being a yokai island, so watch out maybe for a one Gina-style follow-up. We appear to have either some sort of Osakabe Hime alter or her sister, or maybe Osakabe Hime pretending, but same artist, similar build kind of character, and a pink-haired lady with big hobble-dunkaroos. But she seems pretty popular. So like I said, I don't know if these are intended to be full units, but it's a time-gated event, so we're rolling out slowly, so keep this in mind. But there's also, like I said, I kind of undersold it by saying it's a kaiju event. There are literal kaiju battle quests. There appear to be like alternate animations and sprites for various characters, lots of other funny mechanics. We really are cutting loose to have fun in a lot of ways. And I'll have more details on the brand new Summer Servants later. But for now, we're crazy. Like, I know a lot of people are making a lot of jokes because there's a lot of different animations for both King Proteas, and regular KP's Third Ascension has one where she just does the fucking worm crawl over the enemy. And yes, that's very silly, over the top. Palter does that in reverse while looking at her iPad. She back crawls. But also, once again, I would like to point out, even though this is summer, King Protea's Second Ascension is a detective complete with hat, and Alter's is a literal cat burglar. So, like, I don't know, man. We're truly getting silly with it. But we also have one little bit of EN news as well. That is, Ordeal Call 3, Bellum Novu Humanitatis, Archetype Inception Part 3, Release Celebration Campaign, starting on 8/12, going until the 26th of August, to celebrate the release of the story chapter. King Protea's rank up is now unlocked. Get even more huger scale. That was actually a couple days before this, but, the first opportunity to bring it up. Log in for various things, concluding in, small amounts of EXPs, foes, mana prisms, including some teapots at the end. There are new limited missions for Part 3, which are good until the 26th, so this is the same stuff they've been doing to incentivize you to get along. Clear overall story and clear, specifically, the early nodes to get some Saint Quartz. They have announced that the 2 new mats will be added to the Pure Prism shop on the 26th as well, which is always good to see for those of you who need those things. Universe Cubes, Moon Cores. And we also have a celebration banner to go for this, which is 2 separate banners, actually. One is Archetype Earth, and that's one people have been waiting for a runaround down. And we have a Kiara Roland banner. Actually, shit, I wrote that as Kiara. Is that regular Kiara or Summer Kiara? I actually forgot to jot that down. I thought it was regular, but, I wrote this hours and hours ago. And I had to understand something called the fullness gauge between then and now, chat. Okay, no, it's definitely regular. Here we go. That's a none. Got it. Oh, actually, I forgot to jot this down, but I should say. They did throw in a couple of early releases of permanent CEs, though. We've got the new version of Demonic Bodhisattva, which creates the CE that... this will be permanently added, but this is the CE that Space Aresh loves even more, because it's an arts up and also an overcharge up.
It's also done by Pochi, which is super important to me.
No, it's a pretty sick art. And then the new version of Room Defender with Jinako. Damage cut and Stargather rate. So yeah, those are... they are not in the story summon yet. They are actually on both of these Archetype Inception banners, which is cute. Well, saying regular would make more sense is possibly true, chat. But the summer one is the one that is a Moon Cancer, so you never know. And she even has a funny Moon Cancer animation. But that brings us to the end of your Skelegrams. That is our news for this week.
Alright then, with that, it is time to move on over to this week's Let's Talk FGO Mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. looking at the mailbag right now, we got six lovely comments, and we'll get through them all, starting from the top. This first one comes from Monster Girl Aficionado, who says, "Dear Lucky and Omega, no question this week, just sending good vibes and wishing you well. Keep up the great work." Same to you, thank you very much. Next one comes from Nobu, who says, "No questions, but only thy vibe." And a lot of party emotes after that. Like a lot. Let's count them here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We have 19 celebrations in here. It's a lot of celebration.
Yeah, Vibe has like 4 exclamation points, and then the party poppers have like, is that 5? Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot. But coming up next, we got the monster humming Stacy's mom while looking at Komachi's dad. The thirst for Komachi's dad has been real. I have seen it in multiple areas. But they say, "Dear Lucky Omega, did you ever just get sucked into a plethora of tabs on PC and waste hours upon hours binge watching multiple vids and then regret it later? That was me hard last month. I hope you guys are doing okay and hydrating/drinking citrus juice if you're feeling parched. I much love your way and have a good weekend." I don't have any citrus right now, but I do have a big old thing of water right now. Big old thing. And while it's not usually videos I get sucked into watching. Like I said, I'm not much of a big video guy, whether it be like YouTube or other such things, but I am very much a big manga and light novel guy. Every once in a while, I'll just come across something and I'll be like, oh shit. And I have to sit down and binge the entire thing. I've done that for several series over the past few months. And has led to many nights of restricted sleep, I should say.
Yeah, I definitely get lost in tabs for different things. Not usually like a mess of tabs with videos. Like if I'm sitting down to watch videos, that's kind of like linear, you know? Like I don't have like a bunch of things open and track them back later. But definitely I've like gotten into something of like, oh yeah, what was that about, you know? And like looking up things, reading articles. Used to do more reading with manga, but yeah, no. I think I talked about actually that. I think it was last week. I spent a lot of time reading, which was true. Which is I have been reading books, which will come up in a later question actually. And I also just reread all of the webcomic Schlock Mercenary front to back again, which is a lot of years of daily updates.
All right. So with that. Second. This next one comes from the Tyrant King that spent around 7-ish hours trying to buy a Hatsune Miku deck because of connection issues. Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
I heard the whatever wave of Hatsune Miku stuff we're on is a little intense. Lots of connections. Technical.
But they say, question! Hey guys, thinking about getting the audiobook for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings series. What other books do you recommend that have audiobooks? Also, with Pokemon Bank finally shutting down on around Pokemon Day, do you think they'll announce ports for Gen 4 and up games for the Switch so people can play the best version of the generation? Anyway, that's it for me. Sending good vibes your way, and hope you have a good evening. On the subject of Pokemon, I have no idea. I'm not a Pokemon guy. I have not been a Pokemon guy for a very long time. And I, personally, in my opinion, think people are too obsessed with Pokemon.
This was a conversation that came up on Fail Betrayal this week because we were talking about Magic the Gathering and we're talking about, top tier card games. And it was like, it was very funny, but I brought up kind of the tautology, Pokemon is Pokemon, where it's like, if you're talking about, top brandings, it's like, they're really, really big, and it's astonishing and sometimes confusing just how big it stays. I think I did, though, even talk about, like, I think even if they released a quote-unquote a bad Pokemon game, like, Pokemon as a huge multimedia project would persist for a while, still.
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, every Pokemon release is a bad Pokemon release until you get a couple generations down the line, and everyone's like, no, this was actually a really good release. All of y'all are just haters. It's like Legend of Zelda in that regard.
Yeah, it is exactly like that.
So, again, I am an outsider looking in here, and I do not have any strong opinions on it whatsoever. I do think it would be good if, older editions can maintain, modern relevance. Like I said, in today's market, where we seem to be moving away from physical, whether people like it or not, it is basically incumbent upon companies nowadays to make sure that their product is available.
Yeah, Pokemon's not Pokemon. Nintendo's always been weird about kind of like their backlog library, but also like sometimes, you know, very cautious about secondhands and various copied cartridges. You know, thinking about the looming specter of the emulation market. But it would be interesting to see if they would do official releases. I probably would have said no years ago, but they did actually do like just standalone ports of like Fire Red, Leaf Green a while ago, and the Pokemon Bank thing is kind of funny because it was originally like a app or a service that was tied to like the 3DS, and they kept it going for like 4 years after they shut down the 3DS infrastructure, and like it's so weird. Some people are like treating it as like, well, it was kind of a bonus that they kept it running for so many years, like after they shut down the rest of the infrastructure. But then other people are like, what, the multi-million-dollar company can't, run their servers? And it's like, well, yes, they probably can afford on the bottom line, but do they want to put a line item to keep this Pokemon Bank thing open when, like, it's only servicing old customers, basically?
Yeah.
Like, you can't.
Here's
access
the thing. If their people
hardware.
are using Pokemon Bank, that means they're probably not playing new Pokemons, they're playing old Pokemons.
And I do get that, like, there are issues with, like, shit like Dexit and, like, the other, like, apps. Like, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have kind of shot themselves in the foot before with, like, this gotta catch 'em all branding and then, like, strategically breaking up your ability to actually physically capture them all. I personally think, we actually brought up how many Pokemon there were for a different conversation earlier today. I think now that there's over 4 digits, like, yeah, if you own all of them, that's cool, great for you, but, like, that's also not, like, practical. But I think that, like, they could breathe new market into it and have access to their modern apps, like, what is it? Bank's the one they're shutting down, Home is the newer one, which isn't even that new, but, like, I suspect they could get in new customers that way. Like, I'm hopeful Nintendo has realized that, like, you can have both your online service kind of, like, cloud always accessible thing, but also still sell back retro games, like, piecemeal, because making them, standalone digital purchases, which are not, $150. Because, like, if the price on physical carts of Fire Red and Leaf Green for the GBA have not gone down, even though they're available digital, like the retro market is fucked in America, and at risk of being more fucked in Japan. I know they've kind of talked about that. But yeah. Yeah, it is, though, that, like, without access to Bank, there's no system to, like, get your Pokemon globally out of, like, GBA or 3DS. So, like, I would hope they come up with a system to catch that. You have ways to move out all your guys. But, yeah, it is an interesting gap. But that I do hope that they do offer some standalones.
Yeah. Now, on your question of audiobooks, there's always 2 series that I'll always recommend on audiobooks because I listen to them actually a lot. Actually, no, I'll give 3. So, first off, it's our usual standby. It's how I got introduced to this series and discovered many more. But the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher has a very excellent audiobook series, narrated by the same guy for all books. I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
I always fuck this up. James Marsters?
Yes, James Marsters.
There's an actor named Marsden who's similar, but no, I believe it's James Marsters.
Yes. But like I said, it is an urban fantasy series focused on a kind of a, I don't want to say like noir, but kind of a wizard detective based in Chicago who gets into a lot of drama and hijinks. Solves crimes usually of a supernatural variety.
The earlier books were definitely, I think, a little more deliberately neo-noir.
Yeah. Like I said, it's long-running and it has a lot of twists and turns and has gone many places. It's very well regarded and I do heartily recommend it. Second one that I would also recommend from the same author, Jim Butcher, is the Codex Alera. This one is actually a completed series of 5 books? 5 books.
6?
Or 6. It goes...
Sometimes so I can look.
It's
Furies of
Calderon, Academ, Captain, Princeps, First Lord? Did I miss one?
Did you? I feel like no. It might only be 5. I thought it was 6, but I can't remember what the third tier is.
Well, like I said, each one is like, well, except for the first one, but
Because I think his editor correctly told him that Shepherd Boy's Fury was not as cool as it could be.
Yeah. It could have been, though. I would have been fine with it.
I mean, I think it could have worked, but it's one of those things where, like, when you're launching a brand new book series, you've got several of these plotted out. Cursor's Fury. That's right. Okay, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that comes after Academ. Yes.
I'm like, I think there's a third. There's a different third tier in there. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, before Captain, after Academ, Cursors for reasons. But, like I said, this is also by Jim Butcher, but we go in a much different setting here with Swords and Sandals. Speaking of Pokemon, this series was written as a challenge to Jim Butcher, who said he could write a story with any two concepts, and the concepts given to him was Pokemon and the Lost Roman Legion. And so you basically have fantasy Romans with not necessarily Pokemon, but elemental spirits, which can do lots of nifty stuff. It's a lot of good world building and a really good escalation. Like, honestly, the more I think about it, I think, like, the escalation in this series is the best I've seen, because each story takes on a specific level, and it just goes up until the climax, and then it ends. We don't go to space.
Yeah. Like, obviously, Jim Butcher does this regular escalation very frequently in the Dresden Files, but that one's got a much longer curve, basically, and there are a couple of kind of, like, paradigm shifts, but, like, There are problems that Harry Dresden has in book 1 that stop being problems, like, 6 books later. Like, him running into, like, a Red Court vampire is, like, really tough in, like, the first, 2 or 3 books. And then you get to, like, 12 books in. There's, like, 12 months was, like, 16? 18? It's a lot of books.
It's a lot of books.
One book he had to split into 2 books. It was so much book.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 12 books later, like, he runs into some Red Court guys, and they're just like, "Oh shit, it's Harry Dresden! Get the fuck out! We gotta go!
Gotta get out of here!"
But like, it's a different sort of escalation, right? Like you said, Codex Alera, like, starts with our protagonist as what is he, like, 15, 16?
Yeah,
maybe not even. Like, he's a young shepherd's apprentice with the weight of his whole nation on his shoulders. Not that he realized that at the time. And then kind of like it statically upgrades each level or each narrative in conflict. It goes up a level, and it's real good. Yeah. Like, it's a very strongly contained curve that I like.
No. Thirdly, I would recommend a series by Naomi Novik called with the first book called His Majesty's Dragon. It has several books in the series. I don't remember how many of them. And the writing does get maybe a little spotty here and there, but the overall concept is very good. The first book takes place during the Napoleonic Wars, with you dealing with naval captain William, who inadvertently becomes the owner of a dragon. Yes, in this story, there is an air force already established. It's such that air force is done with dragons. There's a lot of breeds and ecology to them, and it's very interesting, and there's a wee bit of intrigue in there as well. But, like I said, it's take place during the Napoleonic War, so there's a lot of talk of how, gentlemen should act and be, courts and politics. And, like I said, a lot of war story here.
I can't call it Sharp's Rifles, but with dragons, because it's actually way more high class than Sharp is.
Yes, it's very high class.
But yes, I didn't even, because I actually did listen to the first one in audiobook. I didn't even think of that until you said it. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that was a good audiobook to read as well, or listen to.
Like I said, so if you like kind of, what era was the Napoleonic? It was post the Age of Exploration, but
honestly, I think because Napoleon comes back for a few sequels, I think it's often just called the Napoleonic era.
Yeah, well, yeah, it takes place during, like, Napoleonic era. Lots of, honor and chivalry in combats. It's good. Like I said, the relationship between William and his dragon Temeraire, who's a darling and a sweetheart, is often the highlight of the story, and very often used to help expound upon the world. Let's see here. Are there any other audiobooks that I would recommend? Honestly, before I forget, it's not complete yet. I'm still waiting on this 4th book, but the 9th series, the audiobooks, fucking amazing.
No, yes, books by Tamsin Muir, narrated by Moira Quirk, very strong.
Very strong. The premise of the Locked Tomb series is weird. It's fucking weird. How do we put this? Fucking necromantic lesbians in space?
Yeah. I didn't realize this when I first got into the series, but I learned later. But Muir came up in, like, you know, early 2000s internet culture with, like, fan fiction and writing, and some of her jokes are, like, literally internet memes. Ow, oof, his bones is, like, a literal line in the book. So, like, it is odd, but if you know, you're thinking of something that's probably more in the author is in the same age range as our audience, it's like that, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking Gideon Prime. Gideon original flavor.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
When I grabbed it by the sword, hit pommel. Oh god, no. The jokes and writing in there is esoteric and strange, but it is oddly captivating, and the read by Moira Quirk is amazing. She captures the energy even perfectly. There's 3 books out right now, still waiting on the 4th, which is supposed to be the final one. But if you're building up a backlog of audiobooks you want to do, I would recommend it. If you want a taste of her writing and of Moira Quirk, you could also start with, oh god, what was it? Bella Linda and the 40 Flight Tower? Kind of a short story she wrote.
So yeah, it is a short story that's they also got Quirk to narrate, so that kind of gets you a lot of the tone. Yeah.
Like I said, I would recommend it. It's a little creepy. It's a little weird. Might make you feel a little uncomfortable, but I'm gonna be real. That's the writing. That's just how it is.
It is. We sold the 9th as, like, a great comedic series. It's also, like, freaky and geeky and I was gonna say a little. That's wrong. Plenty gross at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's another one that is heightened by the audiobook version as well. And obviously, you already said that I personally think that the audiobook versions for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are, like, also very strong, because the poor audiobookman has to actually, you know, sing along with the songs. Which, by the way, because we did do Lord of the Rings for MTG crossover for Fail Betrayal this week, I am, like, 1/3 of the way through. Actually, no, more like a quarter of the way through Fellowship, and even I have forgotten how many fucking songs there are. They're good, though. I'm just shocked. I always forget that, like, Tolkien, like, wrote, like, quite a lot of, you know, music in addition to his epic fantasy series, basically.
I mean, he wrote a whole last language. I'm not surprised.
I guess, you know, because it's always the sung word, you know, we leave out the some of the complicated parts of the music, which is, like, all the musical language part. It's just human voice, so it's still just language.
All right, but moving on. This next one comes from Ascension Arcadian is Peak. Howdy, Lucky to Meg. I hope you're having a good week and not losing too much sleep to Palworld, but also enjoying it. I'm playing Palworld right now, and I did lose much sleep to this. More on that later. My question this week loosely relates to my alias, and it is, what is your favorite raid series in Final Fantasy XIV? And to dive even deeper, what individual raid is your favorite? Oh, what raid is my favorite? That is a question.
That is an interesting one. I think most people playing the current content are probably going to say Arcadian is the favorite raid series, because it is peak. It's really good.
No, I think I am going to have to say Arcadian. I can't really think of one that beats it.
Like, I don't want to say that, like, the previous raid series are necessarily bad, but the kind of, like, you know, talking about the tone of escalation, like, doing a pro wrestling storyline works really, really well for both where Dawntrail is at and just 14 in general. And it's, like, has, you know, plenty of emotions and also is great fun. Like, you know, you can talk about how some of them are more directly related to the plot, like, you know, if we can count Binding Coils, which we should, but also it's weird. You know, Alexander is doing some very interesting things. But yeah, like the Arcadian is just, you know, top to bottom, front to back, just, like, really good.
It's a lot of fun. Like I said, like, honestly, I don't think much of the story, as it were. Like I said, it's very basic bitch. You know, you're playing the up-and-coming new wrestler who's, you know, got something to accomplish, and, you know, they got all these things in their way. There's dramatic twists here and there. But the fights are like some of the best. I think the cruiserweight is probably my favorite. Is it cruiserweight? That's the second.
Yeah,
the
cruiserweight's
second...
the middle one. No, I was thinking that because I'm thinking like, obviously, Everything Burns is really cool, but I'm like, what's my favorite fight? I probably have to say Howling Blade.
No, mine is actually Dancing Green. It's
also really good.
Yeah. But no, like all the fights in that one are like really good. I think probably the worst one is probably Sugar Riot, but that's still it's a rather inspired fight.
No, it's pretty fun, and the obviously all of these are like, as usual, Soken got to go crazy because every wrestler has a theme. So like, there's a bunch of really good music in it that's in a bunch of completely different genres. Dancing Green, for instance, is a disco throwback.
No, and it's great, and I just love it that. Like, I love the mechanics in it of you have to stand in the spotlight, and if you do a little disco move. It's great. There's a mechanic that if you do perfectly, you actually get a bonus to your
LB. Yeah, he has a meter phase, but it's not him building up meter, it's you building up meter. No, it's very cool.
No, it's very cool. Like I said, I can't remember what they call him in the fight, but Brute Bomber Redux, that was like, it was fun. Several times you get flying or sent crashing through buildings. I'm all like, that's just, cinema right there. And like I said, Howling Blade is good. The music's good. Actually, I think it's the music mostly that gets me for Howling Blade. I think his mechanics are pretty normal. They're intense, but normal. Also, his design is fucking freaky, too. Yeah. Making him, like, grabbing Finir from FF9 and turning him almost into a goddamn Gundam. Crazy. Yeah. Unhinged.
Now, that man has funnels. He's a Gundam. He has a beam saber and funnels. That guy's a Gundam now. Which is saying a lot, but yeah, no. And yes, I also think, Howling Blade's music theme is, like, crazy good. No, it's a great series. Like, I mean, I don't want to call my shot and be like, I thought about making the joke, right, that, like, what's your favorite 14 raid series? Be on the live stream. The one that's not out yet. But I don't know that for sure. We'll see. I probably will be. Sorry. Arc posting the series of emojis. Yep. God. Sorry, just thinking about the music, like, the fight is also kind of like, nowadays, kind of like, okay, yeah, that's pretty normal, but, like, Be My Honey is just, like, the earwormiest ever.
It is the earwormiest.
And it's very funny because the singer is doing kind of a very cutesy thing, but then, Honeybee opens her mouth and she's a Southern Belle. That'd get all of us when we did that for the first time of just like, oh.
I think so.
I wasn't expecting that. No, the Arcadian's like real peak.
Who's my busy little bee? You're just like, oh! No, but the Arcadian's real good, but I am looking forward to to be on the live stream. I'm curious what our storyline's gonna be. I'm doubly curious what our bosses are gonna be.
Yeah.
But moving on to last but not least, it's Lord of Darkness, who says, hello, Lucky Omega. No question this week. Just choosing to answer Lucky's question from last episode. I do enjoy hearing his voice, and he should have more confidence in it. Sending vibes your way. Wah, 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 wah. And wishing you well. Well, thank you. That cheers me up immensely.
Thumbs up. This is why your feedback is important.
Feedback is important.
No, actually, I forgot to say it earlier, but hey, chat, listeners, Podio viewers, if you have an audiobook series that you want to recommend, fire that off in the comments or throw it in Mailbag next week, because a little bit less, because audiobooks can be longer, and often I'm bouncing around between a bunch of things, but I have consumed a fuck ton of audiobooks in my time, so if you have any suggestions that are new to me, that's like, I do like that shit. Hit me up.
He likes that shit.
But as Lucky said, I believe that is our last but not least mailbag.
Yep. So, everyone, thank you so much for sending them in. I'm glad to see each and every one of them. I hope to see more next time. Like I said, the post for mailbag is posted in our YouTube community every Friday. Generally sometime in the afternoon. The deadline is not until the show gets started, so you actually have quite a few hours to get in there.
I nod along. I nod.
He nods.
I could say,
But with that is done. I do believe now that means it's time to move into KAIJU Free Talk.
Yes, let's move into Free Talk after we take a brief intermission. And we're back. Now, this KAIJU Free Talk begins with a lot of new servant deets. because there are a lot of new servants. And they're all, already out, which is a little surprising. Didn't hold back too much for the follow-up week. But I guess when you announce this many. Okay, so we're going to run this through by campaign, basically. So we start probably with, I think, the most complicated of our new servants. Benny first. Benny, I'm a berserker. She's Q, so still has a saber deck. Average hit counts, low NP gain as a result. It's in the 0.3s. But the thing we got to talk about first, because this is directly tied into both her skills and her NP, is she has a new passive skill which gets an effect. So when she's on the field, or actually anywhere, because I think it's the whole sub members as well. But if you got a Benny Enma on the field, she gives the whole party something called the fullness gauge. If you've seen some screenshots, this is the little green thing with little stacked slots next to everybody in the squad up. But yes, basically the way this works is every party member gets a fullness gauge. Fullness gauge can go up to 4 and be considered full. If they are super large, it's 8. So, super big servants have even more space. It's very funny for those who count as super large, by the way. Because it's not just King Protea. It's both of the 5-star BBs, both Tiamats, and at Ascensions 2 and 3 includes Space Aresh, so she gets 2 gauges that are big. But the primary effect to note is that when a servant attacks or critical attacks, they will consume 1 fullness gauge. The wiki doesn't seem to indicate that anything in particular happens when they do that, just that is how you reduce your own fullness gauge, how you get hungry. But, with that noted, Benny Enma's NP is AoE Arts. You get 50% damage up versus undead for 1 turn first. They do this a lot this summer, actually. But bonus damage versus undead for the whole turn. The NP gets bonus damage versus evil alignment. It gives everybody in the party plus 4 fullness gauge, so most servants go to 8. Super large should go to 12. It also removes ailment debuffs, so dots removes defensive debuffs, and the overcharge effect is max HP up for 5 turns, and also some party NP. Yeah, it charges the party's NP gauge by 10 to 30%. The max HP is 1k to 3k total with overcharge, so overcharge level is pretty good. You get very full at the baseball stadium. So, her first skill is also where it gets very nutty. So, this gains you 20 to 30 critical stars, just every time you tap it. It gives everybody plus 2 fullness, so raises the fullness gauge by 2. And then procs an effect based on how many times you've used this skill in total. But allies who are full, I should say, do not get the buff. So, stage 1, Yakisoba, is attack up, 10 to 20% for 3 turns. Second is Curry, 1k to 2k max HP for 3 turns. Third use is Ramen for 10 to 20% NP gauge. Fourth is a Frankfurter, NP damage up for 3 turns, 10 to 20% also. Fifth is Skewers, 30 to 50% crit up for 3 turns. Sixth is Parfait, which is a 5k to 10k heal. But you have to use the skill 6 times. And you're like, how the hell will I use the skill 6 times in a fight? Well, when you max the level of this skill, it has a 1-turn cooldown. So it is the most spammable skill. Additionally, while you are on first use Yakisoba, there is a 5% chance that it will do Legendary Onigiri instead. That gives you all 6 effects at once and instantly maxes out everybody's fullness gauge. So there's a little bit of gambit involved. But yeah, she basically does cycling really good buffs. The main thing, I guess, is just trying to hit the buff you want, if you need a specific one. But in general, you should be able to just keep slamming and jamming buffs. Her second skill is a 20 to 30% Arts and Buster up for 3 turns, and gives her 30 to 50% critical damage herself for 3 turns. It's also a 3/3 evade, but it does consume 2 of her own fullness gauge. And then the final skill is very funny. So it's 10 to 20% NP damage up for 3 turns on herself, and gives her an on-attack buff for 3 turns, which means that specifically when she's attacking with her Noble Phantasm, she has 100% instant kill rate. This skill, by the way, is called, Beheading Old Man's Needle Mountain Sword, so we are recalling a certain event, even if it isn't Benny Alter. Additionally, it's a 30 to 50% battery, and she gives herself even more, basically doubles that NP damage up for 3 turns if her fullness gauge is 1 or less. So if you're hungry, more damage. passives are just, well, not just, because she got a few of them, but her passives are Magic Resistance B, Presence Concealment C, Independent Action A, and her Ventriloquism EX, which means she is still immune to Skill Seal entirely. You cannot be Skill Sealed. And then her passive EX, which gives her the Fullness Gauge, but it also gives her 20% buff removal resistance at all times. Very fun that, like, even completely separate of her, team-wide feeding potential with the Fullness Gauge, she's got a very strong, NP with, multiple trait damages and party support stuff going on, plus that funny instant kill chance. But definitely should have some very interesting potential for arts comps. Next up, KP is a Moon Cancer now, and also a detective, and also a baby. Nasu must have heard us talking about how infantile regression was only conceptual the other week, because now we are indeed doing Goo Goo Gaga baby play. But yes, she is a still QA Gorilla deck even as a Moon Cancer. Average hits, high NP gain as a result. Her NP is AoE Buster. And funnily enough, she gets plus 20% NP damage if you have a super large ally first, because, both the MPs are team-ups between KP and KP Alter. It does bonus damage versus the capture target, for her detective side, and gives those enemies 20% defense down for 3 turns. It also makes the battlefield water for 5 turns, which is pretty helpful. Overcharge effect is just NP damage up for 3 as well, scaling. So this does mean if you get overcharge and you include a super large ally, you can get some very fun stuff going on. First skill is 3 turns of 3k to 5k max HP up, 30-50% battery, 20-30% attack up for 3 turns, and also gives her 20-30% damage up versus both evil and good for 3 turns. So a very broad spectrum of buffs. Second skill gives KP 3 turns of sure hit, 20-30% buster up, and 30-50% crit up for 3 turns, and then also an on-hit buff, which removes the target's latest buff, and also gives them capture target. So you apply capture target with normal attack and strip the one of the target's latest buffs. The final skill gives her 3 turns of debuff immune, 3 invuls, and also 3 turns of inflicting 10% defense down when attacking with buster cards, as well as it is a 5 to 15 stars now and a 5 to 15 stars later for 3 turns. So that's a lot of stars. For passives, she has Independent Action B, Territory Creation D, so her 1 arts card is a little bit of extra sauce. She's only got a C Madness Enhancement, so a little bit of extra buster. She's got her Goddess Essence as well, though, for at A rank for extra debuff resist and some damage plus. But her being a detective is a passive, which generates 3 stars per turn, also plus 2 on water, so that's 5 per turn. And then she has another one, which gives her 30% star weight on buster cards. Bishone Summer, yes, she is that popular, and I understand why, with a certain overall look in her second ascension. Anyway, she's an SR caster now. She's got 1 quick, 3 arts, 1 buster in the deck, so she's got the caster deck to go with it. Average hits, low NP gain as a result, because her NP is AoE arts. It gives her, so I say this is a little convoluted, it gives her a buff first, but it only works for NP damage, so I'm not sure why it's not just like part of the mechanics. I guess making it be a buff might have certain interactions, but basically, she gives herself a buff where she gains 10% NP when she hits an enemy with poison with her NP specifically. So if the enemy is poisoned and she hits him with her NP, she regenerates 10% NP per guy, I think. But again, it's only on the NP, and I believe the buff only lasts 1 turn, so it's a little weird. But it's already an arts AoE, so she's got some cool refund there. It also gives the targeted enemies 20% defense down for 3 turns and 3 turns of toxic, doubling poison damage by 100%. The overcharge effect is arts up for 3 turns first. Her first skill is a very simple 20-30% battery, a 10% battery per turn and for 3 turns, and a 1-time 3 turns buff removal resist, which caps out at 100%. Second skill gives the party 10-20% arts up, 20-30% crit up, and also gives them 20-30% damage up versus poison for 3 turns. All those for 3 turns. It is also 5 to 15 stars per turn for 3, and the arts up effect is doubled, basically. You get an additional buff if you're on water side. So, if you're fishing, that's a total of 40% for your whole arts team. And her third skill is 10-20% attack up on just self for 3. It gives all enemies 500 poison damage for 5 turns, and that is a 2 turns of regenerating, where it applies the poison again at the end of the turn. I think this is pretty important for farming, because, if you if you blow up a wave of guys after you've poisoned them, well, you can't poison them again. So this, poisons 2 more turns on new guys, hopefully, at the end of your turn. Also, she gets 3 turns of inflicting 500 poison on attack, just any attack for 500, and gives herself a special damage up buff. This is not bonus damage versus poison. That's a separate buff. This instead gives her 10% damage up per poison stack for 3 turns, maximizing at 10 stacks. So the more poison you have, the more damage this damage buff does. It's on a skill, not on her NP, so we're amplifying the poison a lot. Yeah, that's everything that's on that one. So her passives are Magic Resistance A, Item Creation C, so those poisons will stick. Dragonkind B, that's a buster up and also a damage cut. And then she has 4 funny passives. They're like New Employee, Corporate Culture, Comprehension, Proof of a Working Adult, etc. Actually, no, I shouldn't say etc. The 4th one is the Long-Awaited Paid Vacation. So, we go through the whole sequence. But basically what this boils down to is when she enters the field for the first time, she gets 10 stars, and she has 5% passive NP gain, star gen, and crit damage all the time. If you are trying to build a funny haha poison team, she is great for that. Because obviously she can be your damage dealer, but also she can be a source of dealing lots of poison. Cusco's poison. The poison specifically for Cusco, that poison. And then, take a break. Space. Take a deep breath. So, all of those were a little weird. I think Bishone is probably the most normal, but even then, she is a poison team dealer. We go to Summer Lilith. Thankfully, a perfectly normal unit. She does have a little bit of a gimmick, but it's not like one weird trick. It's, kind of similar, I believe, to her default. She is a rider now, though. She has average hits, average NP gain. Her NP is AoE quick. It gives you Ignore Invincible for 1 turn first. It does 50% damage up, it gives her the 50% damage up buff for 1 turn versus Confusion. So if they have the Confusion status, they take 50% damage. Also gives a 20% defense down for 3 turns. I should have said earlier that also is happening a lot this summer. And the Overcharge effect is bonus damage versus enemies who are charmed. So that's 2 trait damages, Charm and Confusion. First skill is a 2 hits, 3 turns evade, a 35% NP battery, and 3 turns of Confusion with a 30% chance to trigger. Honestly, I think you want lower chances for Confusion here because you want it to stick around probably for the bonus damage. Her second skill is 10 to 20% arts up and quick up, and a 20-30% crit up for 3, and then all these for the party-wide buffs. And also a 10 to 20% attack up, but only on the darkness field for 3 turns. Third skill is 100% chance to charm all enemies for 1 turn, 20% battery for party, 10 to 20% NP damage for the party for 3 turns, minus 1 turn of skill cooldown for the party, but it gives her a passive where she will die after she fires her NP. This ignores guts and instant death resistance. So you get further battery, you get the charm for maximum damage, and you get, big party-wide buffs, including a skill cooldown reduction, but she will Arash blow up after using an NP. So keep that in mind for your farming. Her passives are just riding EX, so those quick cards are going to hit pretty good, and Divinity B for bonus damage. But yes, now Palter is her own unit, and an adventure to boot, and she's also a Phantom Thief, and she's also still a baby somehow. Considering that Protea Altar is not that far away from her on arts itself, she is also still quick arts, 3 busters, high hits, high NP gain. Her NP is a single target buster, so, kind of doing things differently. But, and it's very funny that this is an animation that involves the master directly. But, also, her NP steals your Mystic Code skills. It will increase your Mystic Code cooldowns if they are available, if they're not on cooldown already. And for each time she does this, she gets 20% NP up for 1 turn. The NP is also Defense Ignore, so ignores defense, and a further 20% NP damage up if you're on city or water fields. So this means that if you don't use any of your Mystic Code skills and you're on a city or water battlefield, Protea Altar will get plus 80% NP damage up for 1 turn on a single target buster. So that will be spicy. It also gives them 20% attack down for 3 turns. And the overcharge is crit damage up for 1 turn. So presumably you're aiming for an NP turn. Her first skill is a 30 to 50% battery, a 20 to 30% damage up versus the neutral alignment. Also gives other party members a 10 to 20% damage up versus neutral. Keep in mind that is other party members, so she gets the bigger buff, other guys get the smaller buff. and gives the whole party 10 to 20% attack up for 3 turns. Ooh, sorry, a little burpee. Slamming so much water. Her second skill is 10 to 20% buster up for 3 turns, 5 to 15 stars per turn, and also 5 to 15 stars now. Gives enemies charge down and gives herself 10 to 20% NP per enemy, so doing that kind of cool NP drain effect. This means, by the way, she's got a 50% battery. If you have 3 guys on the board, this means that if you can charge them down, you will be able to just instantly go to 100. Big-ass batteries. But also, she generates a unique defensive ability called Guardian Parry, which is KP Alter gives the whole party 3/3 stacks of invul, but basically this pool of invulnerabilities is shared by the whole party. So they will apply to everybody on the party. Sorry, had to sneeze in there. Everybody in the party gets the invuls, but it's all one shared pool. So it's not everybody gets 3 invuls, your whole party gets a group 3 invul, which I presume is also supposed to be, Protean Alter blocking for everybody. Final skill gives her 3 turns of debuff immune, 10 to 20% damage up versus non-super large enemies. And also 3 turns of generates 5 stars per buster card hit, and then does the old deal a new command card hand of only Polter's cards. So you will be Brave Chaining. Passives are Avenger B, Self-Replenishment C, so she gets 3.3 NP per turn. Independent Action and Territory Creation B, so her 1 arts card is pretty good, and she gets extra crit. Her Madness Enhancement is only E-, funnily enough. And I do actually believe that does make sense, because Protea Alter is supposed to be much more self-aware than regular KP is. But also, she has a couple of unique passives, one of which is her a Phantom Thief-related passive, which also means she gets another 3% NP per turn, and that's plus 2% on water, so that's a total of 5. So, if you're on a water battlefield, KP Alter generates 8 NP per turn passively, with no buffs, which is a little crazy. We're talking unparalleled level of NP generation for a Buster unit, with 3 Buster cards. And then also, she always has 10% crit up on Buster, specifically. And then, yes, finally, Ono no Komachi is here, and so is her dad. We might actually get some Summer Discrew someday. Komachi is an archer with QQ average hit counts and NP gain. Her NP is also AoE quick. It gives her 50% bonus damage versus evil for 1 turn. I told you, they keep doing this. Also, just has like 150% bonus damage versus the human attribute. It also gives the enemies who are hit with it 3 turns of burn for 1k damage and 3 turns of spreading fire for 100%, so it's actually 2k. Overcharge effect is NP damage up first. Her first skill is a party-wide 10 to 20% arts, quick, and battery. 3 turns on those buffs. Second skill is 10 to 20% NP damage up for the party for 3. 5 to 10 NP per turn for 3 turns. And also +1 overcharge 1 time 3 turns. Her final skill is a 3/3 invul, 30-50% crit up for 3 turns on itself, a 5 to 15 stars per turn, and 20 to 30% battery. So all just pretty normal, pretty packed buffs and stuffs and buffs. Her passives are also, again, pretty simple, just magic resistance C and independent action B. All in all, a pretty healthy summer. But it's very funny that, some of these paragraphs are half the length of others, because it's just like, this person has normal buffs. This person has completely separate mechanics. Obviously, I think the KPs are probably going to be some of the major headliners in kind of the weird niche department. But I think all of the SSRs are pretty strong, which is good because they look good. But that brings us to the end of that section of KAIJU Free Talk.
Alrighty. Oh. So, with that, as the Omega opens up Palworld, because he's not going to have to do a lot of talking.
I got to pay a little bit of attention, but yes. I can't play Palworld after we finish recording the show, because it will be on my machine that renders video.
Unfortunate. So, with that, we are going to start our Ordeal Call 3 recap and discussion. So, I have to apologize. It's been several weeks. 3 weeks now?
Yes, since part 1 dropped.
Since part 1 dropped, and I keep saying that I'll get up to, part 1 and then we'll do it. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. I won't call it a good reason, but it is a reason for why I have not completed it this week. And that reason is Loft. It's all Loft's fault. Loth, in his infinite wisdom, decided to buy me Palworld, and me, not wanting to turn away a gift from a friend, accepted it, installed it, and played it. Just so I can say, I tried it out. That night, I did not go to bed until 11 a.m. Yeah, not even night, that day. I completely stayed up all night, most of the morning, and crashed until later that evening. Lost basically a complete day playing Palworld. And that loss has really affected my writing. So as of right now, we are only up to section 6. It is not small. I've mentioned this before, there's over 20 pages of notes. Just text blocks.
And the funny thing is, we were talking about this in the before time, if it weren't for the lost one single day, you probably would be done.
Yes. Like I said, I had been pacing myself and trying to get it done, but the one single day really fucked me. I had other obligations throughout the week that I had to take part of, so I couldn't just cram extra in there. I have not actually been playing a lot of video games, honestly, this week. I have not touched Rise of the Roland in a while, not Ventures. Played a little bit of 14 when obligations called for it. Actually, I wasn't going to play it Thursday, but the people who I usually do wing farming with actually, added me by name, asking me for me to join them, so I felt compelled to get in there. So, the fact that we're only up to section 6, blame Loth, curse his name, shake your fist at the sky in Australia's general direction, that works. But, even though I say we're only up to section 6, it is still going to be a lot, so get comfortable. I hope you like the tone of my voice, because you're going to be hearing it for quite a while. Now, I do want to say that while these notes are fairly detailed, they are not an exact one-for-one for the recap. There have been certain liberties taken with the wordings and some creative interpretation. There's also some additional notes that me and Omega have put after the end on things to indicate, more personal thoughts. So, let me take a big drink of water here. And let's begin Ordeal Call 3. We start with Section 1, the AI trapped on the moon. Pip 1, an underwater scene. Someone speaks of humanity reaching utopia, but still ending up unsatisfied and asking, why do we exist? Humanity can't find the answer, though, and has stopped growing. Someone speaks of Mr. Armstrong and following his trail, and it has been a long, long summer for Earth. They feel wary, but are glad they have come this far, almost akin to a graduation ceremony. Title card.
An eerily silent title card.
Pip 2. We start where we finish summer. BB is there looking spun and explaining we are in the year 3019, and that this is Moondabai, a city built on the lunar surface. There is no one left on Earth. We are confused for a moment, but BB explains that this is a different Earth from ours, one where KAIJU doesn't exist. Maris says, hold up, and says that even if BB is telling the truth, there can't be no one left on Earth. The foundation of humanity exists, and serves as proof that humanity hasn't gone extinct. BB says that humanity is still flourishing in this place and time, and you'll see what she means as soon as our BB, comes crashing through the window with cries of, she is late, specifically 6 days late, and apologizes for the day. She begins yammering excuses, but notice the other BBs, and they engage in BB to BB communication, with KAIJU BB realizing what's up. It's not enough, though, as BB Dubai shrinks her down and fires KAIJU's BB into space. She also explains that she had signed Lip to be her guy, which probably explains how we got double book guides initially. Also, a side note, I do love the visual effect of BB getting shot and shrunk. We're actually going to see a lot of very good visual effects here this chapter.
Yeah, there's a lot of very strong visual effects. My thought, of course, when this happened was, BB has been ejected. There is still an imposter. This would have been written, 2 or 3 years ago, so Amogus.
BB Dubai says that KAIJU BB is probably past Mars at this point, and that we'll be joining her soon. Now that humanity has reached the maximum joy, there is nothing left to do. We're free to go home. She'll even honor the contract to send us back to KAIJU. With the snap of her finger, several views pop up, and we see many of the servants that we had met during our vacation being unsummoned. Even the landscape seems to be changing. BB KAIJU explains that in her villainous fashion, now that she has switched the city layer over to Moon Dubai, it's rejecting any servants from before 2400. Anything before that has been forgotten and has no power. X mentions that this doesn't apply to her, though. She'll keep mum about it, though. For whatever reason, though, our summer team has a few minutes, and with the realization that this BB isn't our BB, who is a problem child, but one that we still like, we're gonna try and thump this new evil BB. Unfortunately, it looks like BB has aura, literally, and we go into a full support lineup battle. I do want to note that during this battle, when many of your servants are defeated, they disappear, but Percy and Carnival only do the jump back and withdraw animations. It's like it means something.
Yes, probably does mean something. We also used a battle theme here that was, I want to say, mostly pianos. I didn't recognize it off the top. As usual, I'll ask to see if anybody out in the world does recognize it. But there might be hints of like the classic grand battle in there, but yeah, I didn't necessarily think I'd heard it before.
Mm-hmm. The fight goes poorly with Karin and Percy noting that attacking BB Dubai isn't working as she seems way too heavy, and it's like attacking the city itself. BB Dubai captures the ladies because she wants more figurines for her shelves, I suppose, but is curious why Ereshkigal, who is still conscious, is not being banished. Turns out BB Dubai had nothing to do with that, and she doesn't like that. She calls that Khazra Drop messed up, and lo, the gremlin shows. Khazra says it's not her fault, as she had to skedaddle when Lip showed up as BB's guide. Lip explains that Khazra Drop is one of the Sakura 5, and the weakest one, to which Khazra Drop is irritated about. We have to make one last stand, though Bart thinks we should get out of here, which BB loves, so she's gonna use the Moon Cell to erase everyone here except for the Master. Moon Cell Beam!
Which was another effect insert.
Yes. After the light fades, we are still standing, and so is Mash and Bart and with Aresh. We are confused about what happened, but there is a flutter of cherry blossoms, and BB Device explains that Lip sacrificed herself to protect them. We are shocked that BB could do that to one of the parts of herself, but BB says that the Sakura 5s were just the worst parts of BB, so they were excess. BB Device asks her master for agreement, and a woman in a white dress appears. Pip 3. The girl in the formal draft doesn't say anything else, and BB Dubai says that Mash gets to live due to Lip's sacrifice. Hooray! Bart also gets to stay because he was the only one that said anything of value.
It's a little harsh, but yeah. She did like what he had to say. But yes, the track here, when Hakuno steps out, is one of the Extella tracks, though knowing fate, this could just be a vanilla extra track that was reorchestrated. But there's a couple of music pieces from Extella that are used throughout this bit.
Anyway, it's time to leave. We get front row seats to the election that is about to happen here in Moon Dubai. Considering the down, humanity ended in 2999, but BB didn't like that, so she called a bunch of moon cancers to hold an election to determine the end of humanity, its method of extinction. Khazra Drop is one of those in the running who wishes humanity to starve to death and become food for plants, much like insects.
During this bit, BB Dubai also claims that this is why the Moon Cancer class was created, basically to contain final bosses. Somehow, I don't think she's 100% correct, but...
Actually, I feel like I need to go double-check this, because I feel I could have swore she said that for something else. But I didn't double-check this.
I thought it was this line. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's somewhere in this conversation is where she first says it. I thought it was when she was discussing, the reason why she summoned a bunch of Moon Cancers, and then she's like, this is why the Moon Cancer class was created. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute.
BB Dubai says further that we can absolutely go nuts and try to stop it. Any Moon Cancer that loses to us doesn't deserve their spot. It's definitely time to leave, though, so we enter the elevator, a bit reluctantly. Once in the elevator, the mood has hit rock bottom. Bart tries at some levity, but we can't help but think of Lip. Mash says that she should have been the one to shield us, but Khazra Drops explains like that's exactly why Lip sacrificed herself. The light of the moon cell is basically absolute, and the only way to beat it is to hide from it or avoid it. Lip was the only one in the group that understood that, so she used her body to shield us. Khazra gives us a quick rundown while we're still in the elevator. There are still several areas, and most of them are going to be hostile to us. Our best chance of survival is to run east into the old offices, avoid the old ball, and actually learn about Moon Dubai. With that, we hit the ground floor, and she bids us adieu. Pip 4. Opening the doors back to the plaza, we are met with three factions that really want to kill us. Moon Socialite, Mecha Soldiers, and Laughing Moon Knights. We can only summon one servant, which seems like not a lot, but Bart says that's literally better than nothing, which is what he was expecting. We gotta break through these groups though. We don't have to kill them, but if we want to have to show that we aren't to be messed with. Also, in the background, I know that there's a couple buildings with the word Koyan on them.
Yep. And also during this battle, we had Surprisingly upbeat moon battle music, considering, as Lucky brought up. The tone was pretty down there when we were taking that elevator ride.
Pip 5. We moved to downtown. We're trying to escape into the office area. We think Arash will wake up soon, but for some odd reason, we were hit with lock-on targets and hit with homing missiles.
Also, during this bit, we play... Yeah, it's me. I'm making notes about the music. We played Dino Summer music. I think the track is called 65 Million Year Old Dream. It got reused a lot in LB7, though.
Omega read the wrong note. So we're just going to skip it. Section 2, Mad Roland, Naked Death Dubai. Despite all the explosions, we are okay. We dodged the majority of them, but it was with Arashiko's help that we were able to escape them. Oh wait, Arashiko's awake! Rocking a new outfit and hair color too. Apparently, there were so many explosions and rocking that no one could stay asleep through that. Our bad. Anyway, Arash wants a recap of what she missed while she was out, and we give her the cliff notes. Arash says she understands completely, and now understands what has happened to her and why she felt so sick. We want to comment more on that, but it turns out we are surrounded.
Oh no.
Turns out it's Roland, and he is speaking absolute nonsense, and a bunch of the laughing Moon Knights who have no fear in telling Roland that he's a bit of a dumbass. But there isn't enough time for words, it's time for a fight. I didn't necessarily have a lot of trouble with this one, but stripping away the clothes was interesting at least. Roland, unfortunately, is too damn strong and continues to make no sense. Archetype isn't helping though, seeing no reason to. We ask why Roland is here when all servants are banished. Roland doesn't know, and he does not care. He's just here to be naked and help out his friend's dream. The laughing Moon Knights continue to mock him, even calling out that the boss is super irrational. Speaking of the boss, a super irrational, super dumb voice calls out for Roland to stop ruining everyone's fun or else. The Moon Knights get super excited, and who shows up? It's Saber Astolfo Grimaldi, and here's to kill us along with his LMKB, Laughing Moon Knight Brigade. Pip 2. Astolfo is geared up to fight, but a Moon Socialite shows up and tries to calm everyone down. Roland and Astolfo note him as Anthony and the master of Astolfo, but they aren't listening to him. Anthony even appeals to us as a master of old humanity. He isn't that great at this whole thing.
Nope.
Astolfo is all about not thinking, so much so that he thinks that Roland is thinking too much and cuts him down. It makes perfect sense. Now it's time to fight. This was the strange fight where if you brought a ruler to it, as you might do for fighting against
a moon cancer.
A moon cancer, it would get stunned, but if you bring John, as Omega did and mentioned in the pregame, John actually plays a reverse card, and it's actually great. Like, bringing John to this fight was a hoot. Her in-battle buff is just, don't be selfish. Who decided this? I want to know. Otherwise, this fight was just fine. Just constantly hit skills and wail on the idiot.
Yeah.
It was quite that simple. Just make sure that all your skills were on cooldown and just kept going.
Yeah. You know, the kind of thing that, like, obviously pre-knowledge helps, but yeah, I also just brought John and just, saw the buff and did the thing.
It was great. Astolfo was on the back foot, cries for Roland to save him, which, surprisingly enough, Roland can and does. Apparently, Roland is truly juiced with the magical energy. Archetype asks if Roland is the strongest and most dependable knight there is, but the best we can go is kinda? According to Astolfo,
Maybe.
Roland is only like the third strongest knight, but is the strongest that he has ever been, and there is no one stronger. What was that, Omega?
Yeah, I said I agree, but I was like, is he stronger? Like, kind of? Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, the power of Femboy praise fills Roland with determination, or looks like a magical energy from a bunch of moon-based command seals. Anthony tries to stop them again, but no, they are out from blood, and we close in on this. I do want to point out, at this point, the screen gets darker as if something large is blocking out the sun. Roland is suddenly smashed by something from above. The Moon Knights start panicking, saying, "It's her!" and absolutely getting wiped by something. We hear someone talking about if they are trying to kill us, they must be trash, and trash must be taken out. We look up and see its bestest big daughter, King Protea.
And now it's time for a recurring joke, which is still relevant because of this new summer, but their one weakness, a giant woman.
Pip 3. KP is glad to have found us and asks us to wait while she finishes. Astolfo is like, "I got this," and then immediately gets bodied. Apparently, this is the 12th time. Apparently, this is the 12th time this has happened. The Moon Knights try to flee, but KP is just too big and strong. Bart, on the other hand, is absolutely trembling. We think there's something wrong? No, turns out he's just shook by KP's hidden eye. Police, it's this man right here.
Kisatsu.
From that point, though, we catch KP up with what's been happening as she carries us in her hands. KP explains that she was sent here by BB so that she and Lip could be fun summer boss matches. She has been here for about 6 days, and since she heard people talking shit about us, KP decided that they need to get hit. She is literally one of the strongest things on the moon right about now, and that would be great to get back to the tower. Unfortunately, there's a couple of problems. KP can't leave the office area because everywhere else is too fragile for her to walk. In fact, the buildings are so tough that they don't break even if she hits them with all of her strength. Bart wonders why they just can't stay with her and base in one of the buildings, but KP says that they don't have any entrances and will probably want to stay in a place with proper lodgings. That's why she's trying to get us to the Marion Hotel. Turns out, though, that something isn't right. KP hasn't been able to control her skills properly since arriving here and has been using more magical energy than usual. This means that whenever she is running low, she falls asleep for about 17 hours each day, and unfortunately KP just hit that limit. With a bit of rocking back and forth, down we go. The Laughing Moon Knight Brigade, though, are behind us, so we gotta move on. KP will be alright. She is a big, strong, tough girl. Pip 4. We make it to the Marion Hotel again, no worse for wear, although we are tired and the mask can definitely use some water. Should be all good now that we're at the hotel, but it turns out not to be that case. The hotel is filled with automatons now, and they reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Apparently, with the commencement of the plan to determine humanity's end, the hotel staff has thrown up its guards and reveals that they are actually under the control of the Albatron Company, which wishes to turn everyone into mechanized humans. We are surrounded. They point out that while they are under orders from the Albatron Company, they do have a sense of responsibility. Not to mention they are not combat models. So with that in mind, all they can do is hit the alarm as soon as the conversation is over. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We quickly understand what they mean, and Mash quickly thanks the staff, which they acknowledge before we make our way out. Our Russian girl asks why Mash, and you, if you selected that option, thank the staff, and Bart explains that the hotel staff could have easily trapped them or pulled the alarm earlier, but didn't due to their hospitality spirit. Arash reckons it to being, despite appearing non-human, they have a human heart, and remarks that this is akin to how servants are. Before we continue down that train of thought, more mechs show up to ruin our day, and we have to break through them and attempt to return to Area F. Actually, I think this fight was probably the most annoying one that I've had so far, because this was the fight where when you break the mech's break bar, they're stunned but invincible, and after 2 turns, they just refill their bar, so they just go back into full health. I'm all like, geez, that's just mean.
Yep.
I didn't actually defeat any, but luckily, defeating them isn't actually the purpose. You just have to survive so many ways. We break through the first wave, but the enemy is coordinated and disciplined. They are blocking our way out back to KP and slowly pushing us towards the desert, which turns out is more akin to a sand ocean. Bart expresses frustration over the situation along with his inability to help us more, and as we try to console him, the lack of water is starting to take a toll on us. But before we can actually collapse, a passing senpai, gym guy, just so happens to be in the area with mineral water. Gym guy says that the desert is actually our best bet. We just have to grab one of the free desert tour boats that are docked at a wharf. Bart is suspicious of the help, but Gym guy is just a tourist turned part-timer. He's still on the clock as well, so he can't come with us. Regardless, Bart is excited to be heading towards the ship at least.
He likes big boats. He cannot lie.
Section 3. The 7 last bosses.
Yeah, this one was a little hard for me to put in, but I figured it would go like here even pre-pip, because like even before getting into the story of this section, when it was like the 7 last bosses, I was gonna be like, so this is another fucked up Grail Roar? There's 7 of you? You're competing for a thing?
Pip 1. We start putting some settings into the ship, including passengers and the cores. It's free, 0 liability, free to repair, free to take home too. The first generation AI thanks everyone for using it. Bart is a little sad we didn't have to hijack it, but is content to let it run its autopilot until there's a need for a deft hand at the wheel. Bart does note that there seems to be a shield in case we run into large-scale drilling machines. We want to make a note of the ship ourselves. Wait, what is that off to the side there? The guy's ship interrupts with a message saying there is an election broadcast from the city and everyone has to watch. BB Dubai is on the screen, being smug, read as cute, as always with his own map behind her. She asks everyone having fun thinking of the end of humanity, and to remind everyone to think real hard about their vote and not to be afraid to change it. It's not every day you get to make a choice like this after all. This plan has been in the works since the year 3000. She wants to present the numbers, but because we are watching, she'll do it in a way that we understand. There are areas A through I. There's a subnote here that Lucky hit his desk here as soon as he wrote that, with Archetype Inception being AI and our areas being AI. It's like, man, we're really about AI this story for some odd reason. With Area E's controlling a majority at 48%. BB Dubai says there's 7 Moon Cancers wanting your vote, but the one in the lead is Moon Cancer Tomovich Koyanskaya, who has presented, in BB's opinion, a bog standard extinction.
No extinction. But yeah, in response to Lucky's comment about hitting the desk, I'm like, insert, they can't keep getting away with this here. But also, I did want to note, this is absolutely deliberate. I talked about this, I think, in a pre-show a couple weeks ago. But I is the 9th letter of the alphabet, but allegedly there's only 7 Moon Cancers, so we went out of our way to, add extra areas that weren't necessarily assigned to Moon Cancers to make it go A through I.
Yeah, I know BB's the tower, Area B, but the tower is not counted, and I think it's the crater in the lower left.
Crater is G. I had another note later when they actually talk about where I think it's B and G that are not actively used, and yeah, B is definitely BB in the tower.
Mm.
G is probably the crater.
Yeah. BB Dubai calls out the rest of the camera telling us we don't have much time if we want to stop her. Written and produced by BB Dubai. This is my first inkling that BB Dubai is probably not the evil last boss that she is making herself out to be, like usual. Like, I checked this on her servant profile. Despite everything else, she is still chaotic good.
Yep, still got the same old alignment. And don't people be saying, like, oh, well, they don't. No, they do change alignments now. They happen. They do it a lot.
Yeah. We are shook at the mention of Koyanskaya, though. Bart is wondering if she went back to her beastly ways, but a look at Aresh stopped that train of thought. We were at a loss of what to do. It would really help if we had our own BB right now. Although, no one seems to be noticing the strange floating creature I'm calling Senpai. Aresh is confused, asking why we can't just go to the tower for that BB, and Mash kindly explains the difference between our BB and that BB. When asked when our BB went, Bart explains that our BB was taken out by BB Dubai. Regardless of everything else, though, we need to figure out what BB Dubai is and what she's up to. I have a note here. Damn it, if only our BB was here, said everyone clearly facing only one direction, as an astronaut tries for the third time to get our attention.
Yeah. This whole sequence is very funny with this bit.
We mentioned that there's also a girl that seems to be her master, but before we can get any further down that line of thought, there's a crash and the shipboard AI says that we are under attack by the Alvatron Company. They are using high-spec access codes to demand our ship stops, but because the ship isn't a bitch, it ain't stopping. As fighting is our only option, Bart takes the controls away from Guide and prepares for combat maneuvers. Mash and the Master are to repel borders, and Aresh is to stand there and look cute. Also, yes, I'm very soft on Aresh. How could you not be?
She just woke up from a big nap, okay?
Pip 2. During the combat, you are joined by a mysterious astronaut wearing a space swimsuit and a lot of frontal padding. The mystery. Nah, it's just BB. I have a note here. I am willing to bet that every single person ever first just went, nah, it's just BB on their first go around.
It's pretty hard not to. But yeah, no. I do love how during the fight, BB Cosmo echoes a little bit, because she's the mysterious astronaut. But I would like to say that while I am not BB's mightiest soldier, I do think her different helmet off looks are cute, both like hood up and hood down, and should definitely be a costume.
Yeah, we should have options.
It's the kind of thing where, like, I bet if it weren't for some of the other weird stuff we've got going on, they would have been different ascensions, but we stacked some extra layers in, But she has all the story sprites.
Sorry. I was fighting a cough there.
Oh, man, it happens.
With too many words, BB Cosmos explains that she managed to rescue herself after the attack, but is just seriously tired and needs to get all the info she can on this place. Unfortunately, data is being restricted during the election, to which BB is confused about. Mash kindly explains the situation. I know I note this later, but this is like the third time we've had to catch someone up.
I know, right? Like, I saw that you wrote that note earlier, and, like, I think the second time you said it, I was like, wow, no, Lucky's right. We do have to catch up a lot of people on this situation.
All caught up now. BB thinks the name of the event is dumb, but when we brought up it was a BB that thought of it, it's actually a great name. We say we know that they're separate BBs, so she doesn't need to worry about that, although BB wishes she can play it out more. BB tells Bart to stop messing around, and BB wonders why Bart is even here. If it was her, she would have spaced every servant except for Match because she's half human. BB calls it a waste, and we ask her to explain that. Apparently, since there are no humans in the year 3019, BB Dubai would have to sync up her Dubai with BB Cosmos Dubai, and then maintain all the servant energy herself so that all the servants could have fun, and we would raise the join counter. Once there was no more need for it at all, BB Dubai, once there was no more need for it, all BB Dubai had to do was cut off the magical energy, and the servants would be sent back to Chaldea. It'd be like dropping a load off your shoulders, which is why she's still paying for Bart to be there. I feel, personal note here, that BB Dubai wanted someone at her side who would prioritize survival over combat, as Bart was the only one at the time who said, "We gotta get out of here." She did say that Bart was the only one who said something smart at that time, which is why he got to stay.
Yeah, as I was about to bring up, she commented on it, so.
Yeah. Arashkagal is a bit more complicated. While BB initially thinks that proper human history Arash got sent back and left the alt version here, Arash says she just independent manifestationed herself as soon as she arrived and turned into a beast. She's grateful no one tried to kill her and will pay us back, and a matter that's note here, she's going to do something dumb. I feel it. Moving on though, there are two things Arash wants to know, but BB has already guessed them. How does everyone get back, and what the citizens of Moon Dubai really are? The answer to the first varies. For the Master and Mashing won't happen until we defeat BB Dubai and stabilize the foundation of humanity value. For Bart, he will turn to the Throne of Heroes if his spirit origin disappears. But as long as his core is intact, he'll return to Chaldea with us. As long as his core is intact, he'll return to Chaldea. Alternatively, he'll return to Chaldea if the Master does as well. Aresh is the outlier, though. According to BZ Kalmos, Aresh can only stay here or vanish. She explains that servants generally can never be more or less than what they are at heart, and since Aresh mixed with something different, she can't fit back through the passage back to Chaldea, same with whatever turned her into a beast. The citizens of the moon are much more simple. They are all AI. Some way, somehow, they have all achieved immortality and everlasting peace, though this means that no one has a connection to the old humanity. Guy confirms this by saying even though they love how Bart uses their hands on them, they have no records of him. I ship it. Heh. Arash understands this and makes a decision. She floats away and declares that she is Enki Arashigal, and as a beast, it is her that should be ending humanity, so she is going to enter the final boss competition. Sand plus explosions of sound effects. Pip 3. So apparently, Arash didn't cause the sand explosion. It's a giant rock drill snake that trapped the ship and is pulling us into a giant sand whirlpool. Arash won't have us dying on her watch so soon, so she floats the ship and will help us before becoming official enemies. She names herself the Beast of Null and the evil of a humanity amassing. After the battle, it seems we were able to perform multiple summons. The damage the enemy is dealt with, and Anki Arash flies off, letting us live. The ship is damaged and needs repairs, so we gotta dock somewhere. Guy tells us that Area C is a non-combatant zone, and the Moon Cancer there doesn't have a campaign slogan. Turns out it's Jinico, and the Chaldean version to boot. I didn't mention this, but Soundworms are kind of tough enemies, but they're kind of like the general, like, mid-boss tier enemies that we've been getting.
Yeah, they're annoying. I think there are a couple of comments around them, with, like, how annoying they are.
Yeah.
But they're not tough, it's just,
kind of a slog. We set our course immediately, but are informed of a hitch. BB Cosmos isn't allowed in Dubai. Two BBs can't be in an area or will throw the system out of whack. Instead, she'll stay in the desert and try to find clues in the sand. She does give us a tip, though. There should be a statue of Lip in Old Dubai, and even if our Lip was defeated by the Moon Cell, we should still be able to make a new contract with this one here. BB reiterates that none of this was her plan, and we have to figure out why humanity ended, who the 7 Moon Cancers are, and finally figure out the deal with BB Dubai. She knows we got this, though.
We are pretty good at solving mysteries.
Yeah. BB Dubai is holding a villain team meeting and has everyone check in. Cause her drop in Area D, and her proposal is to let humanity end humanity via a Earth restoration effort gone bad. Astolfo and F with the let humanity do whatever plan, also complaining about KP, how dare. In A, we have a mysterious hooded creature whose plan is to make Earth a water planet, which isn't going well. C, who already knows Jinko, states that they aren't here to fight with anyone from their shelter life plan, so stop invading them. Also, they have a bone to pick with Area E. Area E, with its coin sky-shaped silhouette, doesn't care though, as they are rich, beautiful, and most importantly, in the lead. Area H leaders find this amusing, while Area I states that a clash is inevitable, but they will win in the end.
Yeah, this is where I put my note earlier about how this means that Area B and G are not used by the Moon Cancers who are allegedly competing.
Yes. BB is loving all this energy, but informs them that a new threat has emerged, a beast. Koyanskaya is shocked, but BB says it's a different beast from her, one that didn't come from this universe. While there are some concerns over what this means for humanity, BB Dubai states that even if all the characters should fall, a Moon Cancer would still finish the program. They end with a slogan: humanity's extinction should be an event that everyone can get behind. It's clear, though, that after the meeting, BB is more tired than she's been letting on. The girl in the former dress suggests she takes a break, but BB Dubai shrugs it off, instead asking if she would rather be out there helping Chaldea. Apparently, the girl lost at rock, paper, scissors, so that's his job. She is a little concerned that he might be getting a little too excited, as they're a bit inured to danger. Section 4. Old Dubai. We make it to Old Dubai and everything seems peaceful, and no one seems poised to attack. We notice a shop called Master Bucks, and it seems intriguing. Mayhaps they have food and water, which we need to survive. Before we can enter, we are told that cafe is a holy site and only allowed to a privileged few. We're about to be given the spiel about how to enter when another citizen appears and accuses us of being a part of the Laughing Knight Brigade. At this point, quite a colorful cast of characters appears and a fight is about to break out. We decide to take it easy on them because they seem such a fun bunch.
Back of our shield. But I hope I get Master Buck royalties.
We'll see. We send them flying and into a panic. Before everyone can scatter, though, someone new shows up and tells everyone to calm down. No one died. With the clown show over, the new guy gives us a handshake and introduces himself as Hasara. We introduce ourselves and ask if he is the boss around here. Hasara says no, that title belongs to Jinako now, and she has been waiting for us. He'll take us to her now, and not to worry about the guys we just trounced. They'll up on their own. Pip 2. Inside our room, a statue tries to be intimidating. We don't fall for it, though, and Jinako pops out. She wants to catch up with everything that's been happening so far and seems upset about all the problems. But it turns out she was just mad she didn't get to have a summer vacation like we did. I feel like I need to be taking a tally of how many times we have to explain the situation. What is this, 3? Because we talked to KP, we talked to Jinako, and I think there was one more so far. BB. It was BB. Yeah, we're up to 3 now. Turns out, while Jinako did intend to join us in the 2030 Dubai, she somehow ended up in the year 3000 Dubai. Actually, I have a note here. I bet this has to do with that weird thing that happened to her at the start of the summer event, where she got a little tingle.
It's true.
This means that This means she had to wait 19 years for us to show up, which wasn't that bad, but she had these AIs to take care of, and BB Dubai gives her the chills. Now that we are here, though, she wants to party, but Hasara reminds her that she can't do that quite yet. Jinako puts on her serious face and says that she'll answer what she can. I think this is the first time I've seen like 5 responses on screen.
Yeah, you can ask a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. So, Jinako was assigned Area C by BB, and while she doesn't fight, she has made a space for moderates who don't want to see humanity eradicated. Turns out Moon Dubai was built in the year 2600 and was modeled after the original Dubai. Unfortunately, it shut down when humanity was destroyed until the year 3000 when BB turned it back on. Unfortunately, no one seems to know where this new BB has come. She is a city management AI, but other than that, she is a mystery. Same thing with the final boss of humanity's annihilation. The voting only started when we showed up, but the campaign has been going on for 19 years. When everyone woke up in the year 3000, BB just said, "Let's talk about how humanity died," and everyone just went with it as if facts were facts. This led to factions forming in the areas with popularity getting more resources. This is why Old Dubai is struggling, having lost both the Ferris wheel and something else. Asking about the Moon Cancers, we find out that there are 2 types, natural and artificial. The natural Moon Cancers are the servants who are already Moon Cancers, who were called from Chaldea, currently just Jinako, and the Moon Cancer in Area H counts as that. Artificial Moon Cancers are servants that BB turned into Moon Cancers after they were accepted as candidates. To make this work, BB assigned them masters from AIs that were around since 2400. Asolfo's master is a socialite named Anthony. Area I's master is an ex-military man named Ben. Area A is an academic named Yotei, and no one knows anything about Area E. Everyone has been running wild due to the election, but Jinako has been half-assed in the election while gaming out in Old Dubai. Jinako then drops another big fact on us. Humans stop being bored in year 2300. I wonder why I wrote 2300 and then 100 again. Spelling mistake or grammar mistake here. And pass the title of humanity to AI. That means that all the AI here are part of the new humanity and the master part of the old. The bodies we see are just frames, and the real bodies are being kept in those tall towers back in the office area. So the AI are effectively immortal, but they still don't want to have their frame broken. It can cause damage to the personality, and getting a new frame takes time. Asara goes on to say that humanity chose to become AI due to them being associated with souls. A soul cannot be constructed from data, but they arise from what already exists. He speaks about many theories about what souls can be, but then mentions that there are new humans, third generation AI, who have had all the data from before 2300 discarded. Mash brings up a point though. If they are the new humanity, then humanity still exists. Why are they voting on their end, their own demise? Asara states again that facts are facts, and they've all reached a consensus on this, so there's nothing else to do than pick your favorite ending and go out with a bang. I have a note here. Actually, why are we descending on humanity died in the first place? It already happened, so why are we suddenly choosing an ending?
Yeah, that's honestly, again, that's another point that you brought up here while writing this all down, and I'm like, this is another one that is kind of a recurring element of just like, why are we picking? What does this mean that we're picking? Because, like, Asara's not wrong. It is factual that they were all, incapacitated in storage, and BB woke them up. But why did BB Dubai do that?
Yeah. Well, questions for later. Pip 3. That wraps up the main discussion, and Jinako is about to find us a room, but we interrupt her with a, "Where's Lip?" Jinako is surprised for a moment, but remembers our own BB. She isn't going to tell us where, though, until we rest and recover our strength first. Bart asks if this has something to do how we can only summon one servant, and Jinako explains that we are cut off from Chaldea and lost access to its magical resources. There is nothing wrong with us, we just need a new fuel source. It just so happens there is an easy fix for that. We'll deal with that tomorrow, so Jinako once again tries to bundle us off to our rooms. We ask about food and water, and Jinako says, "Don't worry, you'll see." Going through the streets of Old Dubai, we see a bunch of people being busy with all sorts of tasks. Asara says Old Dubai is the only place like that. AI was used to solve all the world's problems and eliminate the needs for humans to work. Even now, only second generation... that snuck up on me. Even now, only second generation AI are given the privilege to labor, though it doesn't always work out that way. More on that later. Checking this serving bot with the double meat burger. I crave burger now. I wrote this like a week ago and I still crave burger. I'm making burgers. I'm making burgers this weekend. I'm gonna make my miso teriyaki burgers.
Nice.
Turns out AI with organic frames still requires sustenance, so there are actually several restaurants in the area we can visit. Before that, Hasara showed us a place we can stay. It does look pretty swanky. Hasara says to get comfortable because tomorrow he'll have labor and a job for us. Master and Mash are confused by this, thinking those are the same thing. The next morning we are in a desert and we have no idea what's going on. Asara says that we can't summon because we don't have resources either, and Old Dubai has none to spare. Therefore, the solution is to take on a pest with a heck ton of resources. A sandworm. We are bamboozled by this. Also, Mash is Elfer, so we can't rely on her. Good luck, have fun. Bye!
Okay, this is just... The worms aren't hard, but they are a little tedious, and it's just like, anyway, you're gonna find a worm! It's like, what?
What? Pit 4. Back in Old Dubai, Hasara is pleased as punch with the resources. He splits the tank right down the middle and says to use our half to charge Mash's shield. Hasara explains that we got labor, Mash got a job, and Bart is there to flirt with the guide. Bart doth object, but then Mash arrives. She has been teaching about close quarter combat from the School of Leonidas. Asara uses this chance to explain that labor is something to ensure survival, while a job is something that has its own intrinsic value. Work, back in the day, was used to encompass both, but Moon Dubai has done away with such a concept. Mash realizes that they have done away with work, then people had stopped working and doing labor because the AI took care of that instead. Mash goes on to explain that in our timeline, AI was just a prediction engine that made answers depending on its library, but was improving with each new information processing format. It is theorized that eventually AI would outstrip human intelligence, reach some kind of singularity where AI could do everything humans could do, but better. Asara seems slightly surprised by our timeline, but says as far as he knows, AI became widespread before the year 2000. They quickly integrated into society and took over much of the labor. Asara stresses that AI didn't steal those jobs, rather made them unnecessary. He brings up that this is what humanity has always been working towards, right? A society where people do not have to work to live. Therefore, he knows it was right and just to do. However, though, it wasn't just all silicone and roses. Apparently, there were still problems. The years 2000 to 2300 have been wiped from the memory and is considered a dark age. No one has been told what has happened, and most just assume that it was knowledge too dangerous to have. While it sounds like this world is way more technologically advanced, Asara says that isn't the case. He would reckon that they are only about 20 years ahead. With AI being developed earlier, it meant they had more time to grow exponentially. I can't say that word, I don't know why I used it. In our timeline, we just haven't hit that point as we have already set our foundation in other things. I have a note here and it's like, in our words, I think they just maxed out their AI tech tree while we maxed out our, I don't know, social media tech tree.
Yeah, something.
I don't know.
It also reminds me of Nasu's work with Extra's timeline specifically, where because they found the moon cell on the moon, humans continuously kept up moon missions and explorations until, the 2030s. So the whole timeline got different, alt history stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, back at our quarters, we have dinner made by a strange game named by Chakaram. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't actually know. And it sounds delicious. We can finally catch our breath and discuss our next move. We know that we can't leave until we fix the foundation of humanity, but also this election is sus, and we should stop it if we could. Bart is talking about how it's wrong for it to be talking about the end of humanity after it happens, but I'm much more stuck on the fact of why did I need to be here to make this happen?
Yes, what did we got that the other guys couldn't do to max out the joy counter?
We have missing pieces. Well, actually, it's a fake story. There's always missing pieces, but I see the missing pieces, and I'm just like,
The bit I missed earlier was when I noticed the timeline button, which is still not filled in at all at this stage of the story.
Yeah.
I should check what it's like after I beat part 2. I don't even know if it's more full, but I don't even know if it's full,
Yeah.
I haven't checked the timeline button.
I haven't checked it in a long time, personally. Despite our concerns about the other candidates and our friends, we have decided to lay low for a few days to gather information in our strength. We fast forward to day 7 in Old Dubai. We are wholly sick of fighting sandworms at this point, but Chakaram, the guy who is the guy with the camel head, attempts to placate us with hot and fresh donuts. How dare. Apparently, he likes to cook food for us, and Hasara notes that he is a second-generation AI.
Sorry, I had to roll my shoulders. But yeah, this is the part where I was in real life sick of fighting sandworms, so the writing had good timing.
I'm sick of these motherfucking sandworms in this motherfucking desert. This prompts Bart to ask what the difference is. Basically, an AI generation is based upon when it was made, as well as its stage. First generations are human support units with limited capabilities made for specific purposes. Hasara uses the barista robot as an example, and when Bart asks if Guide, the ship AI, counts as one, he says, sure, let's go with that. What saucy secret does the ship Guide have?
Yeah, I better say, that's a very suspicious way you phrase that.
Second generation AI are more advanced and designed to have minds similar to humans, meaning they are much more like partners for humanity. There are even cases of humans marrying second-gen AI, which caused societal problems, so all second-generation AI had to have non-humanoid body types. Loki has a note here. I'm sure for many this was no problem at all and only sweetened the deal.
Yeah.
Third-generation AI are pretty much just humans. But all 3 generations AI are citizens of Moon Dubai and all share the same goal, they just have different purposes, which is to replace humans. That gives a beat of silence in which Mass asks about frames. Turns out organic frames are there so the AI can experience more human-like pleasures, like human. This, in turn, is better at reducing stress, which cannot be properly simulated with just straight data, apparently. With that, though, we get a report that the Laughing Moon Knight Brigade are attacking, and they are being weird. One battle later, they were being really weird. They brought a machine Arthur, read as a mecha bull, that exploded, and the guy that exploded with it seemed really pleased about that fact as he became a shining star. Fortunately, the guys in Area F aren't that much of a threat, seeing that KP is keeping them in check, but the other moon cancers are going to make their move soon, so this is probably the last peaceful meal we have.
Yes.
Section 5, Lion Sky, the terrifying mechanized empire. Ooh, sorry, I had to stuff a little yawn there.
No, it happens.
We start with a scout report from the old Dubai militia. All clear on the western desert. But man, it's windy out here. Turns out there are vents from the fusion reactor under Area I here. One asks another if the people there are still figuring out their identities when they spot something in the distance. It's the Albatron Company suppressors, and there are quite a few. It's morning back at the pad, and we are slowly getting roused when Asara busts in and says there's a problem, but we need to lay low for the moment. We learn that Area I is invading, and that Edison is here to pressure Genico into surrendering. Well, this we gotta see, so we ask if there's someplace that we can watch. Asara points us to the lookout tower. Down in the town square, past rows of mecha soldiers, we hear someone obnoxiously loud. It's Edison, and he looks obnoxiously loud. He calls himself Edison Alter. You can choose to remain quiet or yell, "What is that?" Both are appropriate to this moment.
Yeah, it's so good. He's so... Oh, actually, hold on. I forgot to put a parenthetical, but let me... I think I still have that section in my... The notes I took, like, as I played. I took, short notes. Yes, in all caps, I wrote, "Oh my god, he's so tacky." Like, you said it really good as well. He is both loud in terms of audio and also appearance.
Anyways, Genico isn't coming out, but that isn't why Edison is here. Rather, he wants to make gold-plated mech that is going to just take the material we have in the gold souk, despite being the last lines of production Old Dubai has. Yeah, that sounds like an Edison move. Apparently, this is all for his grand scheme of converting all of humanity into machines. His model consists of removing second and third generation AI, turning everyone into endless working robots, and serving civilizations of other systems, somehow erasing all traces of war from the system. I have a note here. This sounds incredibly dumb in a scheme of some kind.
It is, and he's always scheming.
Back in Genico's cave, she's pretty mad about what just happened and thinks we should go and thump him. This works out because of Passion Lip. Turns out Area I thinks Lip is some sort of idol due to her big, beautiful, and deadly hands, so they ran off with her. Mash is immediately, "Oh hell no."
Her big, meaty claws.
Turns out we have a route planned to her location, so all we have to do is get in, make a contract with her, and cause some havoc on the way out. We'll be smuggled in a dummy container and make our escape through a sand ship at a secret harbor. That was Pip 2, by the way. I forgot to say that. Now we're at Pip 3.
It's a short Pip.
Operation Start. We're in the dummy container, and it is hot and cramped in there. It's been about 2 hours of those, and we are about to reach Zone 21, where Lip is kept. The plan is plotted to a T, although they forgot to account for Bart's inclination. Never mind that. It's time for the operation to start. Everyone busts out the calendar to a familiar-looking factory, but there's not an AI or an automaton in sight, which is odd considering the AI future we currently reside in. Enough of that, though. We gotta find Lip. Except she's nowhere nearby. A quick check confirms that. A quick check confirms that. As we think about this and wonder where she can be, the alarm sounds. Surveillance bots appear to demand to see our IDs. We gotta take them out fast. This is the fight where you have to kill them all in one turn. Not that hard. Just unleash AOE. Unleash AOE.
Plan accordingly.
Mm-hmm. After the first wave, even more bots appear demanding to see our IDs with increasing amounts of time, until the last group is just fuck it, and begins the attack. We are quickly becoming surrounded and are worried about the alarm getting out when a new mech appears, one that is colored differently and seems to be more warm. It says not to worry. The more of the surveillance bots there are, the longer it takes for them to take action. He knows that we are here for Lip and introduces himself as Ben, the general of the army and Edison's master. He explains that Lip is in another castle and that we should hurry. We ask him why he's doing this, and he explains that he's doing this for Lip. She is a unique creation, and he doesn't want her on this battlefield despite her aptitude for it. It is the only thing that he and Edison disagree on. Otherwise, Ben is fully behind Edison's idea of mechanized humanity, as that would mean that humanity meant something. As a final bit, we ask if Edison has changed at all, and Bill replies in the negative. He did note that Edison was summoned as a caster, but as soon as his class changed to Moon Cancer, he raged against the concept of death and losing one's neighbor. Ben tells us that this will be the last peaceful conversation we have, and we depart once more. Pip 4. Dashing through the factories, we see Lip as a statue. Unfortunately, Edison is close on our heels and talking too much. Bart and Mash break off to stall for time, with Mash getting some digs in on Edison's new look. Bart even manages to bait him into some villainous monologuing in which Edison exclaims he just wants to make the solar system into a giant factory and ship into the vastness of space to who knows who. Edison gets juiced up enough to push back Math, but it's too late. Lip is back in action and hits them all with her skill, Trash and Crush. Flashback to a few minutes ago in front of Lip's statue, where we then flashback again to Jinako giving us instruction to awaken her. With our command seals and a shout of encouragement, we awaken the young girl once more. She switches into combat mode immediately and squishes Edison and his army into a cube. With a pretty sick animation, I might add.
Yep. Oh, I forgot to put a note here, but you were right. It was a scheme. Edison was scheming.
Yes, no, you could choose one of two options. One was like, there'll be no, like, cash and delivery scheme on my watch or something.
Yeah.
So yes, no, I believe Edison was just going to send product out into space and whoever received it would have to pay him for it. And it's just like, that seems incredibly dumb and ludicrous. Pip 5. Mash thanks Lips for saving them, but her manner of speech is quite formal and professional. It catches everyone off guard, but no time for that right now. We gotta get out of here. We make it to the sand ship without incident, where we fill Lip in. That's the 4th time we've explained the situation.
Oh, actually,
I'm keeping track now
for a second. I think it was 5 because we also had Eresh.
Eresh, yes. No, 5 times we've had to explain ourselves. Jesus. Ordeal Call 3, the one where we explain the situation a lot.
It's gonna keep happening too. We're still not yet at the point where Lucky wrote that note, chat. We're reverse engineering this.
We are. Where we fill Lip in, but she seems to take it calmly and in stride before going into sleep mode to recover energy. BB explains that due to the reset, Lip has gone back to her factory settings almost. She doesn't have the personality nor the memories of the time before because this is basically a brand new passion Lip. BB doesn't want us to be sad though, because AI are humanity's partners and Lip would be proud that she gave her life to save us. BB and the Sakura 5 are AI, so if one breaks down, another can take its place. What matters is the care and affection we show each one. So, I have a note here. I think I can say with confidence at this point a couple of the themes here. One is the discussion of, can AI work along humanity here as partners or something even more? And even if something is different, deep down, it can still be the same. Like I said, the story is quite literally hitting you over the head constantly with the AI question, but I have definitely note like several characters here being different but also the same. Like, we can say this about Eresh, we can say this about Lip. I would also extend this to probably BB Dubai. We do not know what is going on with her deal exactly, but I can definitely say let's all like, no, this is not going to be as straightforward as it seems. There's going to be layers and complexity to this that we're not going to understand. And my assumption is that we're going to see like, no, BB is still being BB. She just has a different level of scale right now.
Yeah, I she is a BB, therefore she is BB.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think you could say that also about, like, Astolfo's a little sketchier because he's, like, big on the moon madness, but the funny thing is that even though he called himself an alter, Edison is still Edison.
Yeah.
Like,
still,
his army tried to punch our ticket in America.
Yeah. No, now that you mention this, I think a lot of the people, like, even when they've changed to moon cancers, they're still, the same people inside. They just have maybe an extra layer put on.
Yeah. Boy, howdy, when we get to the next section, that's also true.
Where was I? Here I was. BB hasn't found out much more, but did discover that the generator under Area I is powering around 30% of the power for Boon Dubai, with BB Dubai herself shouldering the other 70%. This means that BB won't leave her tower, so that's good to note. Other than that, though, it's business as usual, and BB suggests we focus on taking the other moon cancers before they can succeed. I asked BB not to become the Secret 8 boss, and her reaction tells me all I needed to know.
I didn't jot that note, but I'm pretty sure that's what I picked here as well.
Back at the factory, Edison busts out of Cube Jail by the power of science and time compression. He is behind schedule now, but more importantly, he has a visitor. Abyss, a beast calling herself Enki Areshkigal. And we're going to be hitting the final chapter of the night, section of the night, which is section 6, Do Android Foxes Dream of Pampering. This one's perfect 4 pages by itself, Jesus. Pip 1. Back at base, Jineko is pleased as punch that the attack on Edison worked as well as learning that BB Dubai is stuck in the tower. Pashlip is recharging with calories, and BB Cosmos is working on a jammer to hide her action from BB Dubai. Jineko asks if we've seen anything weird, though. I asked about the moon that we can see, which is an interesting conversation, but I get the sneaking suspicion that one of these moons isn't actually a moon. I don't know if it's Moon Dubai or the moon that we see, but one of these things is not the moon. It's gonna either be a weapon or something. I don't know what.
Yeah, I also asked about the moon projection because you can see it in some of the background shots. They do some day-night transitions with the dome, I think.
Yeah.
And I was also like, hey, what's up with the moon? And they're like, projection. I'm just like, interesting. Anyway.
Actually, though, it's the billboard. They're all advertising Koyan, which is Koyanskaya's company here. They hold over 60% majority here, so we have to do something about her before she passes the 70% mark and wins the election. Before heading off, though, we decided to leave Bart behind to help out Old Dubai, although Lip was using a poor choice of word as usual. It's her skill. Was it masochistic constitution? She just says shit that makes people want to bully her?
Yeah.
But Bart didn't seem to mind at all, though. Chakarim packs us a big lunch, and Bart warns us to be careful. We make our way to the Dubai Mall, where we quickly realize that we really can't do anything but go in the front door due to someone's assets. Big, meaty claws. The interior doesn't look that different, but there's no one shopping. A nearby sudden upper-class citizen, by the way, that was his title, I double-checked it, it was sudden upper-class citizen, explains that everything is on demand from your cage, so there's no need to actually go shopping. He was going to explain more, but then realized that we were old humanity and promptly freaks out, even saying we smell bad. I took personal offense to that bit.
There's only one thing. Violence.
Pip 2. Trouncing the Satellite fairly easy, they retreat while spouting all sorts of nonsense. Before continuing on, though, Passionless wants us to stop actually treating her so nice. She isn't the Lip we knew. She wants us to treat her and her life as a weapon. To which my only note is, no.
Yes. Bugs Bunny. No.
Upon reaching the center, we come across a large room with rows upon rows, floors upon floors of cages. While considering what seems to be someone off-screen remarks that it's like a pet shop and extols all the premium care being put into it. The greatest happiness a slave could have. And it follows this area's extinction method, an end to civilization brought about humans becoming no more than pets. Koyanskaya appears and is ready for our support in the election. We express our shock, and she explains that she is the Dark Koyanskaya. It's light that is the one that helped us in South America. Regardless, this kind of scenario is right up her kink, so how could she pass on it? Lip asks if we should just attack her, but Koyanskaya is much more vicious with her shit-talking. I did choose the I'll kick your ass option. Love is love, but discipline is discipline.
I think a lot of people thought that. I'm just like, hey, you can't be... Because what's the phrase Koyan quotes where she's like, oh, I heard BB once say that Passion Lip is the most useless?
She said that Khazra Drop is the weakest, but Passion Lip is the most useless.
Yeah, and it's just like Lip doesn't take any offense at all because she's Lip, but we're just like, all right, buddy, okay. You can't be saying that shit, all right?
No, the two options you have is you can talk to Lip and says all like don't worry about it, it doesn't mean anything, or you're like, hey, you talk about Lip like that, I'll kick your ass. And Koya's, if you say that, Koya's is like, oh, okay.
We're being so for real right now.
Either way, Koyanskaya is ready to rumble, but since she is the face of her campaign, she has to give us the introduction packet. The basis is that the problem with humanity is, of course, humans. So remove humans from the equation and leave AI to solve all your problems. Worried about AI making a mistake? At least you'll be able to figure out a reason for it. It's not like humans never make mistakes. Koyan goes on to say that humans making a mistake is probably all they probably do. Welcome to probably, well, we could have probably had a philosophical discussion about the theme, but this is like our real philosophical discussion here. We actually have paragraphs here.
Yeah, we did a couple back and forths because there were a couple of... I had some initial thoughts when Koyan brought this up, but you had some other stuff.
I had to write them down, otherwise I would not have remembered them properly.
No, I know you stopped what you were doing to like subtweet my response. So no, I think it's important because there is a lot of stuff going on here.
Yes. So, like I said, so I start this off with saying she isn't wrong.
And I suppose if we're going to talk about it, you're talking about her comments about humans making mistakes. Obviously,
yeah,
it's very common. And I definitely agree. I don't think she's wrong about human error. I'm actually gonna, because I put this as kind of like a sub reply to what Lucky said, even though I probably should have indented it then, but then we'd be even more indented. I'll put the end of the thought at the beginning, which is like her marketing pitch comes across as very clean, obviously, because it's Koyan. Yeah. She's trying to give us this neat, pretty version of this thing, but
she's trying to sell us a product.
At the same time, my initial thought was immediately like, okay, so she's not wrong about human error, but even by kind of like 20th century sci-fi standards, which I think at this point I want to emphasize, I think is what we're meaning when we say AI a lot in Ordeal Call 3. Like, this was written probably like 3 years ago at least, because it came out 2 years ago. So like, Nasu is an old school sci-fi head. If you've ever like actually read anything he's written that was not like LB6, like paying close attention, you'd know it. So I think that's what he means when we're talking about AI in this context. But even then, like, fiction of the turn of the century indicates that, you can still make an AI, possibly through human error or just through, like, simplistic programming, that can still be harmful. The experiment that came to my mind, I wrote shortly as just the paperclip maximizer experiment. But explain that one, because some people might not know it. That's a thought experiment from the early 2000s, basically asking, like, how are ways that you could accidentally build an AI that would be harmful to humans if you forget about AI ethics? And the idea is basically, if you built an AI that its only existence is to produce paperclips as efficiently as possible, that would probably cause problems because you forgot to account for, what about, human welfare in your paperclip maximization? And then you kind of springboarded off this thought.
Yes, no. Because I do want to say this, like, off the top of my head, I didn't write this down. The paperclip maximizer thing is honestly one of those things where I call a fear-mongering situation. People always refer to this when they want to say, like, no, this is bad. Guys, like Coin Sky brought up, you don't have to be an AI to ignore morals and ethics and do stupid shit. Humans do it all the fucking time. The only difference between the humans and the AI is that, a human has to make the conscious choice to do this, to do that action. AI generally don't. At least at this stage, they can't. Like, this is something we talk about. You cannot make an AI take responsibility for its actions right now. It has no identity. It has no concept of it.
And I should say that people do probably misunderstand the paperclip maximizer. The point of the thought experiment is, hey, this is why you need machine ethics when you build an AI. You need to teach it to consider things that you didn't think about, because if you treat it just like a normal machine, materials go in, input comes out. That's how you get like the much earlier Grey Goose scenario, because, oh, whoops, we forgot to tell the AI because, we build it, we have to design it. We forgot to tell it to care about that, killing people to make paperclips is bad.
Yes. Now, this goes into what my immediate response was to Omega, is like, you can make a flawed AI, but that is very much a step 1 problem. What about step 2, when you remove the human element from creating AIs? AI being able to self-improve and modify is that at some point, human endpoint at one point would no longer be required. And even then, that point of being able to identify where the error is, it has meaning too. We can fix AI. Human nature is a lot more stubborn. As the story talks about consistently, AI here was supposed to be a partner to humanity, which probably excludes doing harm to them. So that means that all the doomsday scenarios that people envision when talking about AI cannot happen unless a human is somehow influencing them. All this is part of the reason for them becoming so commonplace and widespread. But we also have to realize that this isn't a situation that we're seeing at the beginning, but rather one that we're seeing at the end. We have already seen the result of what has happened, which is kind of why we're going through this whole extinction thing. It comes up actually a little bit later, but honestly, like Hasara said earlier, you turning everything to AI was just and right. It's just still had its own problems with it, as everything else does.
Yeah, and I actually, honestly, it's one of those things where, because, like I said, this was a callback to my initial thoughts when I was going through the story chapter. As we, get further down in the story, you are absolutely correct as, no, this is a much more complicated and, further drawn out problem, and I think the Master, too, would probably be thinking about some of these, but a lot of this chapter is trying to, change both the Master and the reader's perspective. And that's why my response to Lucky's point there was, I think this is a very salient point to talk through because I know some of our audience may balk, and in fact I should say did balk, because I've been seeing people go through at kind of how often Ordeal Call 3 throws at the term AI in this chapter and what that looks like versus, how we've been inundated by the marketing of AI in real life over the past couple of years. I think I had a thought earlier, but it was kind of a thing where it's it's not as relevant now because I've, read further up. But Hasara talks about, we talked about that, right? He talks about, the replacement of human jobs. And it's no, he's right that was actually what our ideal of AI is supposed to be like. It's just that we live in a world where now we see people, tech companies trying to engineer that technology, but it seems less about creating an ideal world where everyone is free of labor and more about how
we're
still make more money. We're in the rough spot, yeah.
Yeah, we're in the rough spot. Actually, did we talk about no, that comes up later.
Yeah, because like you said, I think in this statement, but this is a thing that the story chapter will continually hammer on. Every single time we have a moment as the Master where somebody says something a little bit, well, not every time, because Hasara said the thing about oh, we're here to replace humans, and there was a beat where we're all is he joking? Does he mean that a different way? And then we just move on.
Yeah, I made sure to note the beat in the notes.
Yes, because there is a beat in the story, but usually, at least whenever we're talking to BB or other related characters about okay, so how could have this AI thing gone wrong? BB is always no, trust me, I know these kinds of AI as an AI. They could not be doing things that would be a doomsday deliberately. There must be some deeper mystery here. You gotta figure that out. And I'm kind of curious whether that was all Nasu or some of that is localization, but I assume it's mostly his themes to just keep telling people no, you trust that the AI were supposed to be partners. They're not supposed to be hurting us. Or hurting old humans, yeah. I guess I should say. Now, why some of them in the current have no problem trying to fucking punch our lights out, I don't know. BB rules. Maybe it's because they know we're not from here.
Yeah. Don't know. Or they could be influenced by, being influenced by... Actually, it's probably due to the influence of the servants, honestly.
That is true. Some of the ones who try and beat us up are the Laughing Moon Knights who are aligned with Astolfo because his ethos, his pitch is do whatever. None of this matters.
Also, by the way, I love the fucking fact that the fucking Laughing Moon Knights are the fucking desert survivors, but they got bunny ears and they're making the fucking little heart with their fingers. It's so wild.
They're pretty fun.
So Koei gives a pretty good speech, which I personally can understand. I think I've said this several times. I think usually, the most reasons for a decision failing is usually human input. And so I can definitely understand this train of thought. But continuing on what I was saying, excuse me. Following through this logic, though, AI would continue to take care of humanity's needs until they were no more than coddled pets. But even that would have reached its limit as humanity found even life to be burdensome, which would then lead to them pulling the life support, as it were. Koei calls for criticism from us and support from her pets, the latter of which answer feverishly. I do appreciate that we can say, I get it, but no, which is definitely my feeling on this. Flashback to the twins.
Yeah.
Flashback to the twins in Olympus, and we say people will resist what she is planning. Anyway, Koei is yeah, fair, now let's fight. I'm glad this wasn't an actual fight, because boy howdy, you get stomped. I still love 9 Drive, though.
No, an excellent use of the return of 9 Drive, but yeah, we get our fucking asses kicked.
She is even stronger than she was as a beast. Fortunately, she is willing to just let us go and even do some shopping on the way out. Her plan only works with the new humanity and doesn't want to hurt her approval rating at all. Pip 3. Either way, we can't beat her in combat, so we have to try another angle. First off, information gathering. Fortunately, there's a bunch of people in cages not doing much. Well, we find out a few tidbits, though, that Koyansky's approval rating directly correlates to how much of the moon resources she can muster. That the AI here think that Koyanskaya in the theory would be the most logical conclusion. That Koyanskaya translates to Miss Bunny. Wait, no. That was learned from a servant that was been hanging out in the mall that talks like a professor. And despite all of her glitz and glam, Koyan really does love her pets. Pip 4. It seems less likely that we'll be able to beat Koyanskaya in combat or slander her, so we'll have to get a hold of her weakness. We head to the exposition hall to see if we can find something. We pass through an undersea tunnel that's more akin to a library, and who do we run into but Hans, being cantankerous as ever. He doesn't know why he is here, but enough about that. He wants details about what's been going on. That's 6.
That's 6. Also, this was my original note, but Hans is under the water.
Underneath the water. After he is all cut up, Han suggests checking her After he is caught up, Han suggests checking Koyanskaya's construction records or permits, and which Match goes on to doing. Lip stays as she would break the glass otherwise. We get a chance to ask what Hans is doing, and he says looking for inspiration as always. He was actually able to dig up some of Moon Dubai's history. It only goes up to 2300, but there are some important points in there. The year 2000, AI is just a program to assist people, much like it is in our modern day. The year 2010, AI is used to serve in a nursing home, causing explosive growth. The year 2020, an AI is officially recognized as possessing humanity and is the first to receive human rights. Apparently, though, it was just a waiter at a cafe. Lip interjects here, saying that that's weird. It's just a serving program. It's programmed to do a single function. It shouldn't use program. That's repetitive. But too late now. It shouldn't count as human. Hans rebuttals that if low intelligence and low ability doesn't make one a human, then what of babies? Lip concedes, and Han explains more. That humanity in this world is given when something has imagination, no matter its intelligence or ability.
I do think in real life that is also one of the philosophical testers of what is human.
Well, I don't think we actually have an answer for what is humanity, so probably.
Yeah, I mean, especially these days, because it turns out that the Turing test is, speaking of human error, the Turing test is also vulnerable to human error.
Yeah.
If you build a really good chatbot, humans just accept, yep.
And now they're using that in fucking...
Using it in school?
Yeah, using it in school, using it in fucking phone calls, and using it...
I wonder...
I would be more excited about AI, but I feel like we're trying to shoehorn it in everything, and someone's trying to make a buck off of it. I'm just like, ugh.
No, absolutely, unfortunately. And it's kind of like, it's been proven too, because it's like, this is why some companies anyway, are agitated about Steam making it so you have to disclose if you used AI and stuff, and it's like, well, if AI is really so great, then why does it matter if you have to disclose? But also, lots of customers are kind of like, I'm not this keen. No. Also, this gave me a wild thought just now. I wonder if this very conversation and talking about how humans are actually kind of bad judges about what's being human is why Lip says something, because I could totally see us just buying oh yeah, no, a waiter was human.
Yeah.
Lip's that doesn't seem complex enough.
Yeah. Like I said, Lucky is a transhuman enthusiast, so I'm probably generally more accepting of a safe than I would say probably the common human populace. Probably.
Personally, I think that treating your waiters with humanity is probably something we should do anyway, including to human waiters. So, fuck it, let's include the robots in it.
I can get down behind this. Anyway, where were we? Ah, yes. We asked what would happen if this was delayed about 20 years, and Hans says that it would delay AI development about at least 200 years. Hans says by devoting time to AI development before issues like pollution and mental health got out of hand, humanity can spend more resources on it. As Hans put it, between human stupidity and AI wisdom won, for better or worse. Back to the timeline. Actually, now I think about it, the R2000s were kind of wild. Especially in America, I would say. Yeah,
I wonder if it's more of a Japanese thing to talk about before mental health and pollution got out of hand, because I do in the 80s and 90s we did have a couple of big anti-pollution pushes, I remember when I was very young, discussions about acid rain, which are no longer very common, and the hole in the ozone layer, but definitely there were always a slight cavalcade of issues, that came up. And definitely, 9/11 and the War on Terror, really distracted everybody in America for years to come.
I see, yeah, because we did a lot of military spending there. We did have a lot of push on pollution. I do also want to say that, once we got past 2000, a lot of social issues about, identity, sexual orientation, and other such started, gaining momentum. I'm not sure about the exact timeline, but, definitely between, 2000 and 2020s, we talked a lot about, sexuality, gender identity, toxic masculinity, male fragility, women's rights, and a bunch of stuff.
Hans
There's
is definitely being what's the word, pithy, he's saying it short and sweet, but it's not. You might say not just mental health, but just social issues in general. Kind of going back to the joke you made earlier about we maxed out our social media tech tree.
Yeah, no, I said that one because we really once we hit the year 2000, internet full swing, everyone has a phone, everyone can connect to the internet, communication and messaging exploded. So a lot of people were connected, and a lot of people were able to talk, and I don't know if that was necessarily best for everybody. Oh, regardless, back to the timeline. 2030, an AI in Iceland surpassed the collective computation ability of humanity. 2050, the trust of AI effectively disappears, or rather, when the last naysayer died. I do want to say, even though that, AI became, it was becoming pretty common, it still took over 50 years for people to be, the people stop naysaying, and that was only because the last one died.
Also, saying a lot that, on age ranges, right, that it took only 50 years for every naysayer to die. That's also maybe a little generous because people can be very contrarian.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, no, this goes back earlier to the, like you said, the difference between, step 1 and step 2 problems. No, there is a pretty, healthy timeline gap for a lot of these events to occur. Even if
I'm honestly thinking it was probably just because people just accepted AI into their normal life. It's nowadays, I think nowadays, despite them costing money and so much of saying, you would find it probably strange if someone wasn't carrying a phone on them, right?
Yes. That is, I just realized that as you started saying it. That's probably is a much better analogy for us, is the drift of cellular phones and then into smartphones, and it's just yeah, that was a huge paradigm shift that just kind of happened, and everybody just does kind of accept it. Maybe not, every single person with a smartphone, because, talking about other discussions, people are wondering oh, is too much screen time good for you? No. But the idea of being completely out of touch, not having a kind of cellular phone on you is crazy. And yeah, I think if you did AI correctly, sounds like a funny way to say it, but if it is actually a tool that is for the betterment of all mankind, if it spread like that, it would be pretty common.
Mm-hmm. But continuing in 2050, this was also the year that gene manipulation was legalized, wiping out diseases and extending lifespans. Wealthy people became nigh immortal. 2060, war broke out between humans. No one won that one. 2070, humanity turned its governance over to AI. It began to manage 70% of the world and started a plan called the Sophia Project, which would guarantee a certain level of lifestyle and build a quantum computer on the moon. Hey, who else do we know that is managing 70% of an area right now?
Same thought, yeah. By the way, if you don't know, Sophia's Greek for wisdom. It's a name for a deity and a core concept of philosophy as well. And also, quantum computer on the moon. That's just a moon cell. They built a moon cell.
They built the moon cell.
They built a moon cell and they put a BB in it, is what we're saying. If you didn't get the subtext there, chat.
2022, things are so peaceful that a new law called the Great Revision, is passed called the Great Revision, in which AI is no longer regulated to supporting humans. Instead, they are now equal partners. This was the birth of the second generation AI. AI-human couples become commonplace. Understandably, marriage and birth rates dropped, but thanks to artificial insemination, it ensured that human population never dropped below a certain threshold. As a further note, people were much more long-lived, so people wanting children were a minority. 2270.
That's just a projection of modern birth statistics in Japan.
It's actually much more my way. We do have an aging population, and marriage and birth has been down, across the board in several areas. The only people that have upticks in birth operations are generally how do I want to put this? Places of poor order, I would say. Where was I? 2270, the end of old humanity. It turns out that even immortality has its limits, and the first to get their lifespan expended in 2030 died. This was 20 years before the laws made that legal, though. This means that AI had the technology but withheld it, and that the wealthy had access to it anyway. This trust in AI grew again. 2299. A war broke out between AI and humans humans lost hard. This killed 90% of humanity. The remaining 10% became what would be known as third-generation AI. Lucky has a personal note here, his personal opinion. I bet a dozen donuts that this war was caused by humanity for some dumb reason, like we can't let the machines take over, even though the machines have long taken over.
And I say with knowledge up through part 2, no bet. Comment neither one way or the other, I'm not betting.
Anyways, there are no records after that, but it's good timing as Mash returns with her findings. Unfortunately, Koyanskaya is clean and above board on all levels. This only leaves exploiting her weakness, which Hans says can be found in the pleasure zone. A Chaldean servant is being kept in a capsule there with the writing in honor of Nikevich. Apparently, Koyanskaya bought it when Bibi Dubai was about to throw her away. It's not without its guard dog, though. There's a horror monster called Emperor Pasima down there, and he is the first ever champion in the mall's underground wrestling scene. I'm ashamed to admit this. I'm ashamed but not afraid to admit I didn't guess who this was until I saw him. Pip 5. So, Red Eye Percival is Emperor Persima, and he is the only member of the Moon Dubai's pro wrestling ring, which was only formed 7 days ago. This explains why he's the champion. Which made this reveal all the better. He is so loud.
So loud.
We see Nikevich in the capsule, and Persima says that we have to beat him to walk away with a prize, no holds barred. Passion Lip asks for an energy charge, and we hand over her portion of the box us because of course we packed food for her. She'll take the lead in combat. Hans comments that Lip is still the same as ever, but also says he isn't doing any fighting. I personally don't remember this fight, but I also don't think it was extra hard, as I didn't need to use any continues.
Yeah, this is the fight where if you put a Hans in your team, he will give buffs and fuck off. I don't do manual labor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shit. I didn't remember that.
No, this is the one. I didn't remember until I was thinking about it now, but yeah, that's this one.
Okay.
But no, it's not a super hard fight with the extra buffs, and you get to use Lip with buffs to work on it. I think he's a person as a writer in this. He's a little big and beefy.
I don't remember.
You probably exploded him with comma.
I think I did. Probably. The more I think about it, I'm pretty sure I used a comma here. Yeah, because doesn't he have like a lot of defense up? Because I remember... I can't remember. Anyway, we kicked his ass so hard, it undid the brainwashing and turned Emperor Persima into former Emperor Persima. That is also what his title said at that moment. They have fun there.
We do have a lot of fun, yeah.
He would like us not to ask what happened. Unfortunately, that means I have to ask what happened. I love that this is an option. Yeah. Short story is... yeah. Short story is, Percy had a magical hangover after the attack by Bibi Dubai, and Koyanskaya promised a cure if he signed a contract. It turns out to be a much more binding contract than expected. We open Nikevich's capsule, who appears to be having a lovely dream, but wakes immediately upon hearing us. She is chipper and ready to go and needs to be caught up on the situation. That's 7. Oh, here it is. Is it just me, or we have to explain the current situation to a lot of people?
Yes. The answer is yes. We have empirically proven, we've tested the theory. Yes, we have to explain this a lot, and we're done for the recap. We are not done for this story chapter. Because I'm sure, Lucky, you may have noticed that some members of our original party have not yet rejoined us.
Yeah.
Some of them don't make it back in part 2 of Ordeal Call, so...
Oh, I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna start keeping a recap tally. We're at 7 now. So we have both Nikki and Percy back on the main team, which is great, but there is the question of how Percy survived. He only knows that someone else rescued him, and the same thing happened for Karna. That's good to know, but for now we need to stop Koyanskaya, as she has been a naughty girl. Nikki words, not mine. Nikki can't beat her, though, a fact she seems super proud of. Nevertheless, Nikevich knows how to stop her, because her Yaskaya is a better girl than she knew. Pip 6. We return to Koyanskaya's room and say it's time for a rematch. Koyanskaya is a bit surprised at this, but seems more upset when she sees Nikevich is with us. She musters up the power to deal with us once and for all, but in a twist, she can't muster up any of it. Checking her approval rating, it's dropped to 0. We explain it real quick. To summarize, Nikovich uses Koyanskaya's general love for pets and their love of Koyanskaya against her. For every time one of them dies, it would hurt Koyanskaya and cause her grief. And no pet wants to hurt their owner. So every single person left rather than causing pain to Koyanskaya. Koyanskaya can't believe what just happened, but she isn't going to go down without a fight, and even calls to bring her light aspect to fight. Which was cool, seeing her switch between the two per break bar.
No, that was a funny one. But
No,
unfortunately, she's a moon cancer now, so go, my Space Aresh! Destroy the extra class!
Did I use my Space Aresh here? I might have. I don't remember. I think I probably did.
It's usually it's for moon cancers, it's rulers, and then, Space Aresh.
I probably would
There's
have.
not 9 billion Avengers, so...
With the battle in, the cage is open and the AI leave, all expressing their love and support for Koyanskaya, and Koyanskaya has to give up. She can't stay, though. Now that she has been beaten and has no more interest, she's going back to Chaldea. We have a chance, though, to ask her a question, and we ask her if she was for real with this final boss plan. She says no. While she does want to be a final boss, it has to be with her plan, not someone else's. This was just a pleasure cruise for her. Before she vanishes, she tells us a secret about a certain master in Olympus, and how they thought and acted. We don't know why she waited till now, but she says it's just the price of things. Koyanskaya vanishes, telling us good luck.
Yeah, Koyan here specifically says she was called by a friend and equal. My first thought was maybe another beast, or maybe one of the Hakunos who have that kind of relationship, but I think you've got a smarter one that came up after.
Yeah, mine is Kazura Drop. I can't think of who else Koyanskaya, of all people, would call a friend besides Miron, which is one of the components of KD.
Yes. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that one because it's been a long time since we've seen Kazura drop in the story, since the interlude, basically.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, that's. I think that is probably a better guess that it would be. I think Kazura drop could pull that because the list of people Koyanskaya considers friends is very small. It would be like maybe us. I know Director Gordolf didn't ask, but also
I don't think Koyanskaya.
I don't think Koyanskaya feels that way about BB.
No. Honestly, I would say that Koyanskaya doesn't think of us as friends. Koyanskaya thinks of us as clients.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and also the funny thing is it depends on which one, because, Koyan of Dark here, of course, is going with the pet plan. That is her whole thing. But
yeah,
Light is more about worshippers, and she is the one who showed up to bail Gordolf out, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
No, I would definitely think that... Like I said, we're at the end of the end cap. I have the beginning part of Section 7 Invader Bunny, but it's literally the first few paragraphs, so we're not getting through here. But as we said, we're up to Section 6. There are still many mysteries aboard, many actors who haven't yet taken the stage, but I'm already getting the sense that things are not as they appear. We know out of character that this is the Moon Cancer Ordeal Call, so we're supposed to be, figuring out what, moon cancers have to do with everything. But, outside of, in that vacuum, I have no idea why we're here. I have no idea what's going on. Shit is just fucked, but at least I get to hang out in Odabai and eat good food.
It's true. We get to eat good. Chakarim's a quality guy.
Oh, God.
Also, I don't know this for sure, but, you may have caught it. Did you notice that there was a server robot in Old Dubai we met previously who was, really important? He had a sprite?
Yes, no, I did see that. I wasn't sure if I should note it. But yes, there was a server robot. He kind of
later they talk about the server robot being the first one. I'm like, is that the first guy? Is that literally him? I don't know yet, actually. They do a lot of these little things.
No, I have a lot of questions. I have my theories, I have my suspicions, but I don't think anything's been really confirmed, which personally I think is good. Like I said, they gotta leave me on tetherhooks. They gotta drip feed it to me, so I'm hungry for more. So I'm excited to get back to it.
I still don't know why BB Dubai arranged this whole shenanigan for us, but it definitely feels like a component of this from a narrative sense is we're here because somebody has to have that old school human curiosity, right?
Yeah.
There's something about these AIs, they talk about the difference between, work and, a job and labor, right?
Right.
But they also feel sometimes like they're missing a little something from life, even though we know, based on what was exposited to us, the AI do have souls. The humans in this timeline figured out how to quantify the soul, or at least qualify it, be like, yeah, that's got soul. And so AIs have souls. We know this. And those are, quantumly unique. You can't split or copy a soul. So each of them has a soul, but they do kind of sometimes come across as still being a little lost, which is probably why there's this whole, popularity contest thing. They gotta find their niche. So maybe none of them has that kind of inquisitive capacity to figure out what actually happened, because BB Dubai is just like, make it up, pick one. And we're like, what did actually happen, though? Now, what that leads to us having to confront BB Dubai so we can go home, I still don't know yet myself. I like I said, I also tunneled in on something we're going to talk about, very shortly in the What's Up zone, so I haven't touched part 3 at all. I'll probably start getting into it over the weekend a little bit.
Oh god, I do really want to get into the story, but like I said, I mentioned this. It's very jarring trying to progress story and write notes at the same time. Like, you get a lot more time in the moment, and it doesn't feel as, what's the word I want to use? Engaging. Like, I get burnt out a lot faster, so I generally want to sit down and do the whole thing in one sitting and then take notes later. But then I have to reread a whole bunch of things, so it's its own problem. So I'm just like, I don't know if I want to, slam through part 3 and then go back. I gotta remember to take my notes on fights, because that's the thing that I can't, replicate, is, what I did in fights and how that went. So I might actually have to take, notes on that, but I don't know. I might, honestly, now that we're not, like I said, we've broken the rule. We're not doing it by sections. I think from I'm just going to slam through part 3, finish it. I'll write notes on the fights themselves because, like I said, they do have unique and interesting mechanics. And then I'm just going to work on them as I can, and we'll just get to where we get.
I think the people will probably be fine with that. I know, everybody's all over the place in progress. I definitely know that, I took some notes, up through where I got through of kind of, line by line, having my first instincts. They're definitely less cohesive and, less formed that way. Obviously, the fight notes are kind of, those are, like you said, in the moment. You can't really go back and do those. But, even rereading some of my own notes, I'm kind of those are not as cohesive as, when you're back reading the notes and working on them and even, commenting back and forth. We had that earlier back and forth. I think that was still important because, like I said, I want to start... I've seen how some people have reacted to this chapter, and, I'm there's definitely some stuff we probably want to talk about, but it is definitely... like I said, less cohesive, more loose when you're taking kind of beat by beat notes. And sometimes I made sure when I thought somebody was giving some important exposition to kind of summarize it, but definitely there are points that are just you just blow by and I just oh yeah, no, somebody said something important, but I internalized it instantly because it was, one line, right? And then you don't comment on it. But yeah, we'll keep going where we're going.
Yeah.
We're at about 3 hours raw through all that. So let's run to the What's Up, but let's take another break ski. All right. Well, as we enter the What's Up zone, to give Lucky a little break from talking, I have a couple of small things to bring up.
Yay.
First, what may be, for me anyway, the last Star Wars Outlaws update. But prior to the great Palworlding, which we'll discuss more, I did... personally, earlier in the week, set myself a goal of, okay, I'm gonna finish Star Wars Outlaws. Or at the very least, get credits to roll. We're gonna do the final story mission. And so I did. Overall, as we talked about with Outlaws, it's kind of odd. I would probably say, so far, kind of the complete, story, cover to cover. Outlaws is probably, a, 7 out of 10, a high C. It's definitely, on the above average curve. But overall, the game's not, crazy good either. Parts of it are very fun, like Sabak.
Yeah.
And honestly, flying around was pretty fun overall as well, once you get all the stuff, though. I also kind of feel like you have a lot of choices of, systems you can plug in that are just kind of guess that's neat. I guess I could focus on just doing space jobs. But on the other hand, with the actual plot, some of the twists are painfully obvious. I will say they do a couple of things that I was not expecting, so I won't spoil them necessarily. But they had a couple of cool ideas.
Okay.
But ultimately, it's not straying, too far from what you think the theme is going to be. There's a moment you return to the bar you started in before the big heist, and the whole crew's there. So there's a moment that's kicked off by Ankh saying all right, it's time for a final drink. I would share a drink with my husband before every job in case we didn't come back. And so everybody kind of goes around the table in that vein, right? Mm-hmm. And then it gets to Kay last, and they're like, what about you, Kay? And she's just like, well, I guess I never had anybody to lose. And they're like, you do now. And it's like, okay, all right. We shout it, for the people in the back. Shout it out loud. It's found family. Guess what? We knew it all along. Like, it's a good moment, but it's definitely, like, extremely on the nose for Kay specifically. And there's a few more of those, beats in the story. In terms of, like, actually doing the kind of, like, final missions, the heist, and then the complications therein, it's all pretty normal, There's some platforming and some sneaking and there's some sneakifying that you don't even have to, like, you could probably just fight all those guys. So, like, it's, it didn't seem super special. They did at least a little bit better than, talking about calling it Space Uncharted. The quote-unquote final boss section is at least, I think, a little better than some of the final bosses for Uncharted were for several games. Took them a little bit for them to lock that in.
Yeah, the first one was pretty bad.
Yeah. And the second one was also kind of like, it's not really bad, but it was like notoriously...
tedious.
Yes. Blow that guy up. So, like, they managed to kind of keep to the point and not make it a straight-up fight for several reasons, but also, still let you kind of, like, have a moment of climax, which was pretty good. But also there are some plot threads that don't feel, like, completely resolved even when you roll credits. There's still some stuff that we don't maybe fully get into. But there are a couple of... sorry, hair in my mouth. There's a couple of neat sequences, and there's a couple of cool ideas that I like. So it's pretty alright, above average, like I said. I don't know if I'm going to go back and fill in some of the little bits of intel here and there that I didn't, get to because they were kind of, like, ambiguous objectives, and I was like, well, that seems neat, but I'll get to it later. Like, it's fun, it's cool, in some spaces, it kind of tingles the brain meats, but at the end of the day, it's definitely kind of like I said, some parts of it are very, very boilerplate. It was a real good game to pick up on, like, a PS Plus, if you're out there with, like, a Game Pass and it's on there, or, I think Ubisoft has, like, a subscription service as well, it's completely separate. It's, like, a really good pick for that, where you just kind of go, like, oh, neat, I'll check that out, but definitely would probably not have been interested in paying, full price when it launched. And even then, also, they fixed some stuff as well, so I, don't know how that really changed things, obviously coming to play it, like, a year after. Mm-hmm. But yeah, did clear Outlaws off my back, so that's good. And I was probably planning on moving on to Rise of the Ronin, but something else happened. But we'll talk about that in a second, because there are a couple of other bits of news. One I haven't even looked at or even thrown in the notes, but yeah, we did finally get a Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. It is the Disney Expo, so they've got one of those coming out. They're announcing a TV show as well, it seems. TV series. Actually, I should say specifically an anime series called Kingdom Hearts the Series.
Oh.
They're going to air it on Disney Channel, okay. But yeah, that I'm acknowledging that happened while we were recording the show, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But something else that popped up just before, I was kind of surprised that I didn't see it, but yeah, so also they've announced a Ghost of Yotei Complete Edition.
Yeah.
And I don't remember seeing that crop up, but I did put a note of this. Apparently that's going to have a story expansion called Echoes of Sekigahara.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
So
they're going to have a new,
thing.
survival mode for from weapons and cosmetics, yeah, but I don't know exactly what the Sekigahara stuff is. I think that's going to be October, so I will be interested to see what it was, because I did really like Ghost of Yotei a lot. It was not my game of the year for that year, because Death Stranding 2 is real sick. Just nasty with it. I Pokeballed a tar whale and made it fight a giant tar crab. Sometimes you just can't compete against that shit.
You really can't sometimes.
Yeah, the upgrade to Complete Edition is $15, and I don't know if that's the only way to get the DLC or what. We'll see, I guess, how the packaging works. But I will be interested, because I did think that there were some parts of the map that were underutilized, or even clearly looked like were areas you could go but were cut off. So I don't know if they'll do that, or if, like you said, maybe it will be like a prequel. Like, will Atsu tell some stories about how she got here? Because we did, mention this when we were going through Yotei. Sekigahara was, the biggest Japanese battle ever, and Atsu says she fought on the losing side as an Ashigaru, as a peasant levy. So there's some interesting stuff to be discussed there. But yeah, that's what popped up. But the other thing, like I said, completely derailing future plans was, as mentioned earlier, Loth got both of us, Palworld, onto PC.
Yep.
And so the palaning has begun. Palworld. What the Palworld? And you threw like a whole day into it right away.
I did, yes.
I was juggling a few other things on that day, so I did not go whole hog. But I have played a little bit, a few hours on my own in single player, and we also, I don't think Loth played for this either, but we were also planning a Project Zomboid server recently with some ideas, and we've completely changed that frame.
Yeah.
Now we're playing Palworld. And it's partially my fault, because I know you and Aaron were kind of like hemming and hawing, and I was like, well, I don't hate Zomboid, like I like Zomboid, but I know I don't get as passionate about it as you guys do, so that may be, selfish of me to say, but it is the new hotness. We're clearly into it, and 1.0 wasn't that long ago, so we're palling. It is kind of interesting to be a little late to the party. Like, obviously, I knew about Palworld, I saw some gameplay, but I hadn't played it myself yet, but to play the full 1.0, we talked about this a little, but it's something I did want to bring into discussion. A lot of people comment on Palworld being kind of like a Pokemon clone, and I think some of their marketing tried to like capture the fluff of like, yeah, it's Pokemon with guns, but actual gameplay wise, that's not really what it's like. And you actually said something to me, which I when you said it, I like locked in, it crystallized, and I'm like, no, that's absolutely correct. Palworld is not a Pokemon like, it's a Ark Survival Evolved like, but instead of dinosaurs, you have goofy anime pals.
Yeah.
Yeah, even chat said it. It's an Ark clone. No, like that's how it works. Like, you build bases, you gather resources, you set tasks and workbenches, and these tasks can be fulfilled by pals or you.
Yep.
Sorry,
I will say though, I had to pull out of the server we're going in, because there's actually a lot of. Well, I won't say there's a lot of people on there, but there's several people in there, and these are all people who have played Palworld a lot more than I have, and will just bring back stuff, and I'm just all like, guys, you're overwhelming me here. I was like, I'm kind of being dragged along at their pace rather than, the pace that I want, so I'm just like, okay, nope, until I actually get through this game, I probably can't play with other ones, otherwise I'm just gonna start getting upset. Because there's a lot to this game. Like,
boy, howdy is there.
I'm in there right now, and I'm just like, yeah, you're on like this little island, like you're on this like you start on this like this little part of an island, and you can just see things in the distance, and I'm like, yeah, no, I could probably go there. I'm gonna have to get there at some point, and there's gonna be pals, there's gonna be dungeons, there's gonna be boss monsters, there's gonna be little villages, and I'm just like, it's a lot to do. That is a lot to do, and it's like a little thing. It's like all you can really do is like get your boots in and start working on it. Let's see here. But I'm trying to explain like what I like about Palworld, and like off the cuff, it's like it's survival crafter, so you spend a lot of time gathering resources, gathering materials, gathering pals. You beat them up, you hit them with a pal sphere, you see a chance to get them. It's useful. You gather resources to make materials. Leveling up is anything. Like, this is like the thing I kind of like, and I kind of like, and I kind of dislike. When you level up, you get a point to increase your stack, but you also get something called technology points, which you use to buy upgrades. And as you level up, you're not given enough points to get in everything in that you can grab. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you want.
Yep. I noticed that as well.
Like, you can get technology. You can get technology points from other things, from like finding like the eagle statues will usually get you one. You can use books to get you technology points, but you can't get them all just from leveling up. You actually have to go out of your way. If you want to get everything, you have to go out of your way to do it. And that is a little tedious, because I said there's like, again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, the other guys are overwhelming me. They're talking about like, yeah, we gotta unlock this part and that part. I'm just like, okay, guys, I'm like still back here, and I'm like afraid doing this, like, and I'm just like, I'm kind of blathering here because I haven't really formed this coherently, but it's one of the things of like, there's a lot of options in there. There's a lot of options in there, starting from like, ye old sticks to like at the bottom of it, you got like nano machine forging. And I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff. And there's some stuff that's like shockingly deep. Like, I was in multiplayer for a little bit and noticing that as, once again, the food was depreciating, and I was like, oh, can I make a second cookbook? No, it's like 2 levels higher than I am right now. Like, it's oddball how some of those things are like surprisingly sophisticated, and then also, as pointed out, like you've got a whole bunch of cosmetic stuff in there. It's interesting. It makes me wonder if they did kind of like Arc as well. They did intend it to be more multiplayer-y, so you can have
I definitely
kind of,
think
spread
it
out
is.
your,
I think people are like supposed to like
recipes.
people are supposed to like focus on specific things and that, like, I definitely think so.
I definitely know that you can get your pals pretty specialized because, like I said, obviously they are, they're vaguely Pokemon adjacent in their appearance, but they're like, their abilities are simultaneously much deeper, but also much narrower than Pokemon. Like, they only get, so many moves, pretty, what would be the word? Like, it seems like anyway, a pretty simplified, limited, like, attack pools, but they also have a bunch of other stuff, like in addition to, unique abilities, they have different roles they can do in the camp. Like some of them you can ride.
Yeah, like some of them you ride, they all have like different aptitudes. Some can farm, some for gathering, some can transport, some can generate power, and you can assign them all to like different workstations to do different things. And, then they have, like, little passives on there that make them better at doing stuff. Or worse, you can have negative ones, too, which can be pretty bad. So, no, there's, like, a lot of flavor to the pals. There's a lot of pals as well. And the game wants you to catch a lot of them. Like, one of the mechanics you can have is if you get a condenser, you can take pals of, a similar, the same pal, and squish them together to increase their star rank, which generally makes them a little bit better at what they do and upgrades like their partner skill, which also can be wild and varied. But then you can also feed it pal souls to just give it percentage increases. You level them up normally, which you can do a variety of ways. You can do that by crafting, gathering, or combat. Like I said, it's stuff. And so it's like there's a lot of depth and flavor to this game, and like. You want to be it wants you to get in there and experiment and figure out things and explore and stuff. It wants you to be in there. And I'm like, I'm in there.
Yep. That's another thing you can get XP from too, is exploring.
Yeah.
Finding little journals and finding new areas. Shit, I had a different thought a second ago.
Yeah, actually, now that I'm like where I'm trying to like explain it, I'm like, I actually don't know what to say about Palworld. Especially since like late. So many people. Yeah.
We're late to the party. Let's see. Hold on. How are we going? It's about 3:30 in the raw. But let me try and catch the thought I was. But yeah, we're pretty early. We might take some more time to play it and get our thoughts together. Because like I said, I haven't gone ham early either. But like it is a game that is more diverse in its lines. And this is even like before some of the things. Because like I haven't even I know you can get guns, but I haven't seen it like that yet. Like it's got a lot of layers to its progression, and like you said, I think it really does just want you to get in there because it is very much an open world survival crafter with your pals. That was it, right? We were talking about how the game incentivizes you to collect pals. That's even a different thing, where like if you catch up to 5, I think it is, of the same guy, same pal type, you get like an EXP bonus. Like this is not like Pokemon where you find your team of your 6 specialist little boys. You will still find pals that you're just like, that one, that's my guy. I like this one. But at the same time, you are meant to be doing a certain industrial level of gathering these pals. And, obviously, like you said, with the condenser, you can condense them down to improve them. You can train them up. You can incubate them from eggs. But you also, definitely have, you will just have to accept, you got to catch a couple. And I think the game teaches you this, I think, pretty early. Like, the tutorial onboarding so far, like the early missions are pretty basic, but I don't think I have a lot of complaints per se. And I also like that the separately the bases have like an upgrade track that also encourages you to like develop certain new devices and keep upgrading that way. That's like completely separate. But like one of the first things the game is when teaching you how to catch pals is just like, all right, catch 3 land balls. Do you need 3 land balls? Kind of. What are you not going to capture 3 land balls? Like, that's the kind of thing in Pokemon where you'd be like, that would be crazy to catch like 3 of the same, rando Slambo guy. But no, it works for this because that's how you get, early infrastructure. They'll do work. You can put them in a ranch eventually to gather wool, which is important for other materials. if you're crazy, you can use their pal ability, their partner ability, and pick them up off the ground as a human shield. This game is, I think, correctly a little tongue-in-cheek. Like, I don't know if we're straight up killing pals and people, because they kind of ragdoll and fade out, but, if you knock them out or capture them, you'll get some materials and maybe some meats and stuff. But I might also have killed several dozen humans. It's okay, they were shooting me with guns.
I can't take their guns, though, which makes me sad.
No, they dropped their bullets, but not their guns yet. They got Drebin technology in this weird...
Oh, I was thinking ID tag guns, ID tag.
Soon.
War has changed.
We're not going into a different conversation about Metal Gear Solid 4 yet, but it's soon.
It's soon.
Master Collection this month. But yeah, no, like they... Uh-oh. I have researched the meat cleaver, but I haven't actually built one yet.
I'm not using the meat cleaver. I'm not killing... Like, I'm not entirely sure if when I knock them out and they have swirly eyes, is that killing pals or not? I would like to think it's not. I would like to think
the fact that they drop their eggs or mutton chops is merely a byproduct of the fucked up biology of this place, because, like, if you capture them, you sometimes get those drops. So... Also, I mean, I guess technically that's sustainable, but, like, that doesn't seem sustainable, right? Like, this game's actually very generous with its respawning of resources. I've been very pleased with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your trees, your berry bushes, even your piles of rocks seem to, like, slowly respawn or regenerate. So, like, that's pretty good that you don't what's the word? Like, you don't have to, like, keep expanding your network. You can build a base somewhere and work out of it, and obviously you can get workstations so your pals can just do it forever as well, which is nice. Like, It kind of, like, reminds me of what I've seen of, like, Factorio, but way less aneurysm-inducing of, like... It seems like, ultimately, your goal is to build a system where you have a large enough base with enough pals that they will just take care of projects individually, and, like, normally, anyway, you have a cap on the number of bases you can make. I assume the idea is that, like, you will build bases near where you need supplies. So you will, like, format them in different ways to get different things done. But, like, ideally, you're eventually automating this so that you can go do whatever it is you think is the coolest. Whether that's, rotate 10,000 eggs through the incubator, whether that's, I did watch, I think Loft may have even linked it, but I did watch one video a while ago, which was building the ultimate Zoe, because you can capture people in this game, and it is a little bit fucked up, but that does also mean you can do dark science to, like, pal condense Zoe and give her, like, extra skill fruits and shit, which I don't know, man, about what was all going on there, but it's one of the things you can do. Like I said, this game is very tongue-in-cheek. I know they call Lamball the most useless pal, but also, like, I have to double check it, doesn't Chickpea's description talk about how it, like, doesn't do anything? It's kind of a guy.
Yeah, no, the 3 pals you see in the beginning are, like, all, like, considered, like, the weakest. Fucking Cativa, all Cativas start with the coward negative, by the way, which is interesting.
They do, I have noticed in the overworld, they do all run away when challenged. They don't try and, like, even Chickpea and Lamball will be like, if you start shit in their neighborhood, they'll be like, alright, I'll try. Are trampled under the feet of my fucking blade deer. But, like, yeah, Cativas run away. But yeah, it's a cool game. Like I said, we'll probably talk more about it as we play more and explore more. See about grouping up or not.
No. Like, once I get more experience under my belt, I'll probably want to do a multiplayer server again, but maybe, split people up so not everyone is running around one single base.
We still have just the 2 so far when I logged it earlier, and it did just kind of seem like there was a lot of flitting around. I was thinking about earlier when I was a little behind, because... So we started this playing on Thursday, and it was very funny because it was like, I did the tiebreak suggestion, but, like... that was another day where my internet was absolute ass. Like, it was very
absolute
bad.
Ass. It was
like, yeah. I tried to connect to these guys multiple times and be in the VC, and I would, like, robot, my ping was all over the place, and ultimately I had to call, like, both attempts when just my internet got so bad I just, like, lost connection to Palworld and Discord, which happened twice. So I was like, okay, alright, we're done. You gotta call it a day. But, like, I was talking about being worried of, like, oh, I'm gonna show up as, like one of the lost Victorian children, and, like, the world has moved past me. And, like, most of the guys in the server are still, like, 10 levels over me. But it definitely is, like, I think you're experiencing the thing I was afraid of, which is, like, you have logged in and then realized these guys are talking about, like, nuclear physics, and I'm, like, I am the lost Victorian child. What's going on here? My brain can't keep up. No, I think I did technically progress further in the multiplayer server than I did on my own, so I don't know whether or not I'll keep hanging out there for just, like, thinking stuff or go back to my own world. I did talk about this. I did end up settling my base, like, basically right where our first base was anyway. And I will say, while we did say that, like, I think that, you know, the game is probably designed so that it's easier with all the tech points to, like, have multiple people. By all means, you don't need to do that. Like, honestly, one of the things I thought was interesting was that, and I don't know I don't know what the loot spawning curve is, but, like, you can just find blueprints for some items, including, like, higher quality versions of normal items, and, like, you don't need to unlock those in the tech tree to craft them when you have the schematic. I know because, like, I've looked in the multiplayer server, and it's like, yes, you want to build an epic level sword? And it's like, I'm still a couple of levels before I can even unlock the sword, even if I spend the technology points. So, like, there are ways that you can, you know, strategically spend them and just get it all done in single player. But it does seem neat, and I will say, despite I said that, like, I don't think you need to necessarily form a squad of, like, your bestest boys, there also definitely is, like, the classic, you know, monster raising sim stuff where you just go, like, no, this guy's mine now. I remember in single player, my first capture was I just stumbled upon at that lake a T-Font, and I'm just like, this is my son now. And then, you know, he fucking turns into an artillery gun against everybody for the first, you know, couple of, you know, pals in the area. But yeah, it's a fun game. We'll probably talk more about it. Actually, I should mention something. I have been playing it mostly on controller, just because it lets me, like, change my posture and, you know, lean back in the chair. But I will say, I think it's pretty good about that. I just have an Xbox controller that's plugged in, an old one. But, like, all you need to, like, I've seen games that are much more feisty about this. All you need to do to switch back if you need to do, keyboard and mouse controls to, like, type or something is just, you know, wiggle the mouse or hit a key. So, like, it transitions back and forth pretty good. And that's neato.
Neato burrito.
Anything else that jumps to your mind about Palworld? I know you, like you said, you're still forming thoughts.
No, I'm still forming thoughts.
Then we'll get back to it, because you had to form a lot of thoughts on recap today.
No, like, unfortunately, like, this is my problem, is I've been trying to think too much about Ordeal Call 3, so I haven't actually been able to formulate thoughts on everything else I've been doing, which hasn't been a lot, honestly. Like I said, with my sleep schedule getting fucked up, trying to work on Ordeal Call, just trying to play my gotchas in general, not a lot going on for me.
Well, then we're a little shy of 4 hours, but I think that is probably a good time to wind it in. It is later. We started a little later, so Lucky could wrap up section 6, and he sounds a little sleepier for it.
No, I definitely am.
I know, I feel a little sleepier for it. I've my, like, sinus breath, whatever, overheating has been a little better, but I still do feel like I get a little tired earlier. And definitely I know that, like, Thursday I, like, packed it in a little earlier, because, like, just my internet being fucky was, like, literally tiring to be, like, checking, like, is it any better? Is it any better? No. I have social anxiety with, like, large groups, but also I do get FOMO with like, smaller groups where I'm like, oh, the guys are all hanging out, and I physically cannot. That sucks a little bit. So I do hope that we do still, at some point, run through with the Zomboid, because I know that there's some new stuff, and we were before the Great Palading, we were brewing that up a little bit.
Yeah, we were.
Thinking about some ideas for how to, like, you know, go around, explore, kind of, like, be a little more mobile. As always, trying to figure out how the different parameters in Zomboid work. You know, like, what is zombie migration anyway?
We ask this question a lot.
I think I literally typed when Aaron brought it up, I was like, I feel like I asked last time we did this what the hell that actually means, but he did actually this time have a pretty concise explanation, so it was like, yes, nod. Even built. Oh, sorry, I burped. Even built out a little mod list, but okay, all right. If there is nothing else, then cracks knuckles, stretches. Sorry, that was a little lean back. But yeah, if we have no further zombie man, we'll wind it in.
Yeah.
While the show is a little shorter overall, I think it's because, like I said, we started a little later, and we are on tabletop break, so there was no Death Watch to add 30 minutes at the end there.
Yes.
Honestly, I will say, I don't know how it would have gone anyway. I don't know when he broke his mic, but Dallas on FP Day revealed that he has lost his regular microphone, so he's on his crappy headset mic, and it's bad. It's real bad.
Oof.
It's also real bad because of the noise canceling with how many fans he's got to run, so if nothing else, that will also get better if it gets cooler. But we'll cross those bridges when we come to them. So, alright, let's wind it in so I can go ahead and edit this. Sorry, I immediately had to fight a yawn saying that sentence. Okay, that means it's time to go.
Yep.
Alright, do the usual stuff. Consider liking this video, leaving a comment, and subscribing if you haven't already. You can also join our Discord, where we have friends to talk about Ordeal Call. We got to talk about roles. So we hang out when we do Project Zomboid and stuff.
Zomboid and stuff.
I should watch History of the Entire World again. Because we had that conversation about the black ships, I watched History of Japan, I guess, the other day.
It's a good one.
It is very good. Open the country. Stop having it be closed. It's real good. Okay. I had to fight. I mean, I'm going to say it anyway, but I almost said it as a non sequitur. I instantly wanted to roll back to an earlier point in the video and say, hire a samurai.
I say that a lot.
It's good. That's one we quote a lot, and it's from Entire World, but it's about talking about I think it's Napoleon is that's the actual patient zero for, but he came back.
But he came back.
Society. All right, okay. We're just. That's how tired we are, chat. We're just saying not even memes, just quotes from videos we like. You can talk about videos you like on Discord as well. Join our Discord. Consider joining our channel memberships for badges and emotes. Consider supporting us on Patreon and get access to the episode in audio format. Here's as little as $1 a month, $10 annuum. At higher levels, you can vote in polls like Fanservice Friday and the Fail Betrayal monthly poll. I had to find the word monthly. I was going to say weekly, and I'm like, that's wrong. At higher levels, you can listen to us record the show live every week. And at our highest level, you get an on-air shout-out like Out to Heart, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JDV9000, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Rabbit, and Charvor. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week, where, at the very least, I'm pretty sure we'll get more info on Summer Hobbitrot, because she is also time-gated. And who knows what other news we'll have going on. So, good luck in Ordeal Call 3, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye.